Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. The San Antonio Spurs are now up 3-2 on the Minnesota Jazz. Yes, many of your favorite players, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Kyle Anderson, all hanging by a thread now. Victor Wembanyama had a great game. Minnesota was thinking/hoping he would get suspended for Game 5 after getting ejected for Game 4. Didn't happen. And Victor Wembanyama went out and dominated. 27 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks. And the Spurs beat the Wolves 126-97. They're up 3-2. So that was a dominant performance. And what I said yesterday on the show is still true today, just a slight tweak. Instead of through 4 games, we now say through 5 games. But through 5 games, when Victor Wembanyama is good, Spurs win. When Victor Wembanyama is bad or ejected, the game is ejected, he had 4 points in 12 minutes, they get beat. They are riding him. Did they get picks number 1, 2, and 4? Yes, they did. Did they draft some nice players with those as picks? Yes, they did, some nice players. But don't get good confused with great. Victor Wembanyama is on his way to greatness. The other players are nice players, and you got to have them. I heard some stuff, anonymous Laker players quoted, as saying that the Lakers just don't have enough good players to match up with the Thunder, who just, no matter what happens, they just go to their bench and bring in another good player. Doesn't matter if he has the 14th or 15th biggest paycheck on the team. He can still play. He can still help. As Jerry Sloan famously said, nobody's redshirting here. Everybody's checks are clearing on the 1st and 15th. Millers haven't missed a check, have they? It's a terrible Jerry impression, but you get the point. And it's true with the Thunder, and it's not true with the Lakers, and it's why the Thunder swept the Lakers. And in San Antonio, they could probably use some more good players, but they got a great one in Victor Wembanyama. So 126-97. The Spurs win every single quarter. They won the first quarter by 4, the second by 8, the third by 6, and the fourth by 11. That's how you end up with a 29-point win right there. So there you go. That's, it seems like a foregone conclusion now. Wembanyama doesn't do anything crazy. Minnesota won game 1 because San Antonio was getting used to a higher level of competition. They adjusted, and the only game that Minnesota's won since then is when Wembanyama lost his cool and got kicked out. Presumably that won't happen again. You probably saw the video of, Popovich meeting him at the airport. Oh, so dramatic. Get me over to the airport. I'll set him straight. Okay, well, whatever. Whatever works. If that works, then so be it. One more game tonight. Cleveland, Detroit. Series is tied 2-2. They got Game 5 in Detroit. Cavaliers are a perfect 6-0 at home in the playoffs this year and a perfectly lousy 0-5 on the road. Can they break through and beat Detroit tonight? Detroit's playing another long series. They had a 7-gamer in the first round. This is Game 5 in the second. They're going to have 6. They're going to play either 13 or 14 games in the first 2 rounds. Amazing. Amazing how much tread is coming off the tires. I think that haunts them at some point. That's a lot of playoff basketball, and they still got a long way to go. So there's the hoops on the night. The hockey, I'm paying attention to it. I got to admit I'm not locked in and dialed in, but I am curious who wins and why, what can be taken away, and applied to the Mammoth. I mean, the same way I watch the NBA playoffs, what can be taken away and applied to the Jazz. And watching the Sabres, I just watched Josh Doan because he made that Doan-Peterka trade, and Doan has had, quite the year, and now really having a pretty good playoffs as well. And I think that he did it again. He had 2 assists in that game. He assisted on the first goal, and then he had another assist later. They win 3-2. The second goal was funky, though. Montreal's up 2-1 after 1 period. And Buffalo gets a goal in the second and then the power play in the third to win it. The goal in the second, they're just dumping the puck in. They don't have numbers. They just dump it in, and it hits the boards, comes back right next to the net. Goaltender's skate is out. It hits the skate and banks into the net. Totally fluky. Weird. I had to see it 3 times to figure out what just happened there. I mean, the announcer, Sean McDonough, who's really good, I think, was describing it, and I want to see it. I got to figure it out. It was crazy. Absolutely a crazy way to score. But, hey, you get a break. You got to take advantage of it. They got the power play goal. They got the win. So that series is 2-2 now there. The football news, NFL schedules are leaking out all week, and I know we got a bunch of NFL fans here. Man, if you hate the Broncos, this is going to be a bad year. The Broncos are going to be all over your TV. Now, times have changed since I was blamed for scheduling them on Channel 2 in the 90s and 2000s. The Broncos are going to play a lot of prime time games, so you won't see them every Sunday because they're going to be in prime time. So they won't be, on TV every Sunday afternoon. And that's going to start right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, the first Monday Night Football game, Broncos and Chiefs. I got to say, that surprised me. Both and the NFL doesn't blow this very often, so they probably got it right. They probably just know more than us. But, will both these quarterbacks be ready? I think Bo Nix will. The reports on him have been pretty consistent that he'll be ready for camp, so he'll be ready for the opener. It's a little dicier because Patrick Mahomes for Kansas City is coming off the ACL. But that's a marquee matchup, Broncos and Chiefs. And to use that in week one when you might not have Mahomes, that quite frankly surprises me. I would think while they're getting Mahomes ready, give the Chiefs whatever last place dog they've got to play that nobody really wants to see and put them on a Sunday morning and call it good. The Bronco games and the Charger games, because those three teams have consistently been playoff teams. I mean, the Chiefs missed once last year. But the Broncos and Chargers, the Broncos were hosting the AFC title game last year. I think those are marquee games. I think you throw Harbaugh out there and Reed and the quarterbacks. That's Chargers, Chiefs, and Chargers, Broncos. That's four marquee games to spread around in prime time. And I'm surprised they're using this one game one. That's interesting. And also all these international games. I guess everybody's going to go, so we shouldn't expect them to be a big deal. But Madrid, I'm sorry. Atlanta and Cincinnati, teams, quite frankly, divisions. There are divisions that look really good. The NFC West was great last year. I think it'll be good again. The AFC West was really good last year. If Kansas City's back in form, I think it's great. The storylines in the AFC East are decent. The Jets and Dolphins are going to be bad, but the Bills and Patriots should both be good. So that's not bad there. I just think the AFC South, the NFC South, and the NFC North prove it to me. I know in the NFL anything can happen, so any of them could be good, but on paper right now, I just have no confidence in it. It may evolve that way. Maybe it'll be compelling watching somebody in the AFC North, multiple 10-win teams. I just don't know that anybody's going to be great. It's a pretty interesting year in the AFC. There's a little passing of the torch going on here. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe the Ravens with a new coaching staff get a little new life, but I have my doubts about them. The doubts about the Bengals defense, just doubts about the Browns in general. And Pittsburgh, 10-7, if everything goes right. Maybe win the division at 10-7. I think I could see that. So they will continue to leak games out, just a few games here and a few games there. And then Thursday we get, I guess that's tomorrow now. We'll probably get some more games leaked out later today. And then tomorrow we get the entire schedule, and you can embrace it. You can go crazy. A little baseball history. How about Don Mattingly? Back in the big leagues, career win number 900 as a manager. Wow. If he gets another year, he could get to 1,000. Now, he may not. Maybe they bring Cora back. He didn't want it this year. But Mattingly, very impressive, man. The Phillies are now 11-3 since he took over. And I think Kyle Schwarber's on fire. I don't know how Mattingly can take credit for that. But, hey, you get the blame. You might as well take the credit, too. He gave him a couple of hitting tips. Went in there, told him how it had to be. Hold your hands a little lower. Your weight, get your... It's unbelievable. Schwarber is 5 homers. He's homered in 5 straight games now, which is impressive. And he had 1 2-homer game, so he's got 6 home runs in the 5 games. That's not bad. 7th guy in Phillies history to do it. Some of the other names you might have heard of: Mike Schmidt, Dick Allen, Bobby Abreu, Chase Utley. Yeah, there's some pretty big names there. So Mattingly is the 6th active manager at 900 wins now. Terry Francona, obviously. Dave Roberts in L.A. Craig Counsell, Kevin Cash, and AJ Hinch. Mattingly on a list. Schwarber on a list. Maybe the Phillies turn it around. They're only 2 games under 500, and man, the rest of the National League is kind of coming back to them in the wild card race. So, the Braves are way out there winning the division. Maybe the wheels will come off the Braves, but it doesn't seem like it. The Braves are just awesome right now. Best record in baseball, winning almost 70% of their games. They're actually at 69%, 29-13. After they won and beat the Cubbies, and didn't just beat the Cubbies, dominated the Cubbies. And the Cubbies are hot, and it's nothing. That stuff doesn't matter to the Braves, I guess. They'll just cool you off. Held the Cubbies to 1 hit on 2 runs. Oof. All right, DJ and PK, we got more coming up. We'll get to all the headlines coming up in what is trending in an hour. Right now, we got a couple things to get to this morning. A little bit, the PGA Championship starts Thursday. We got that to look forward to. We got the draft with Bob Casper, and always fun trying to pick 3 guys and trying to pick whoever's going to win the next major. And none of us got the Masters right. None of us thought Rory to go back-to-back, and none of us picked Scheffler to go back-to-back either. So go figure. And then we'll talk to Matt Murschel. Spring football tour takes us to UCF, where they try to bounce back from a 5-7 season. 3-0 in the non-conference, 2-7 in the Big 12. Not good. Not good at all. We'll talk with Matt coming up. Bob Casper's next. Stay with us.
The PGA Championship Update is presented by Copper Rock, where the pros play, on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Bob, good morning.
Hello, boys. How you doing?
We're doing well. Hopefully we'll be doing better when we do our draft here in a few minutes than we did at the Masters, where we all whiffed on Rory McIlroy because none of us thought he could win it back-to-back years, and he did. Oops. Looking for a little better performance here at the PGA Championship. Let's start with the course they're competing at. I looked it up because I was not familiar with it. It turns out there have been some big tournaments there. Not in a while. It's not exactly on the front burner, but it's not unknown either. What is distinctive about this place, which I can't pronounce? Aronimink?
Aronimink.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a silent N.
Apparently.
Aronimink.
All right, Aronimink.
Yeah. So it's a great golf course. They've extended it out to 7,400 yards. It's amazing in that you have a lot of options off the tee to be able to get different clubs as far as driver or iron, kind of getting yourself into position. But the golf course really shapes up to a second shot players course, and so it's amazing. The greens have a lot of slope and a lot of undulation, and very reminiscent of Augusta National. But the second shots into the greens are primarily what's going to be important for a lot of players on this golf course. Also, there's a lot of complexes as far as bunkering is concerned on the golf course. And so when I was talking about being in the right position off the tee, a lot of guys can hit it over those, like Rory and some of the other guys that hit a long way. That gives them a lot shorter shots in the greens. So some people are going to have to lay up the back a little bit further, and some are going to take advantage of their length. So 173 bunkers on this golf course, and it's going to be a great test.
Jordan Spieth is in a unique situation. You know, you ask him one more tournament to win, you win one more, he would choose the PGA because he lacks that. And you look at it, and it's very similar to Rory. They won a lot early, and then it's been a big drought. And then Rory obviously got his last year and gets another one this year. What do you think about Jordan, who is sort of out there but really hasn't made a name for himself to follow up what he had been doing about a decade ago?
Well, you know, that's kind of interesting is that Jordan Spieth does have a chance to get the Career Slam, just as Scotty Scheffler has a chance to get it, the next major championship at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth has not played great. He's shown some good play so far this year, but doesn't have a top 10. So, you know, is he going to resurrect his game from a decade ago and be able to have an opportunity to win this week? I don't know that. But the great thing about Jordan Spieth is he has the opportunity to do this for the rest of his career on the PGA Tour. And one of these weeks, if it's this week or not, one of these weeks, he's going to have an opportunity and get
This is the week, and you're going to pick him number one, aren't you? You're just sandbagging right now. I can see it.
Number one?
Oh, yeah. You have total faith in him, don't you?
Speeds you're talking about?
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
I'm not going to pick him number one.
No.
Sneaky third pick then. You're sandbagging.
Everybody's doubting him. I can relate to Jordan. Everybody's doubting him. Nobody believes in him. He's a bum. That's what they think of me.
Not at all.
There was a time that the PGA was famous for basically unheard of guys or guys who hadn't been playing well, got it together and won it.
First timers, yeah.
Yeah, and Spieth, to a certain degree, fits that, right? He wouldn't be a first timer because he won, but it's a decade ago, so there's a certain parallel there. But lately, the players who've won, they've largely been pretty high up in the official world golf rankings, and he's not. So do you view that, and especially the way the course sets up and the way the tour is going right now, does it have to be somebody who's elite in this tournament? Because that is largely how it's been going lately.
Well, I think the elite guys are definitely going to have a better chance of it. But Jordan is one of the things he prides himself on is his short game and his putting. And Jordan will do well on these greens just because of the opportunity that he's going to have to make putts, what he's going to be able to do around the greens. And then he is a great shot maker for second shots. So I think that's going to help him out quite a bit.
Why is the career Grand Slam such a big deal as opposed to if I told Jordan, hey, you could win this or you could win 3 more Masters, it seems like he would take this?
Well, it's an exclusive club. There's only 6 guys that have done the career Grand Slam ever. And not even Arnold Palmer did it. So it's kind of the holy grail as far as players are concerned to get the career Grand Slam. It means that you've played well in each one of the majors and that you've had an opportunity to win and play against the best fields and win each one of the majors. And so, yeah, he would like to win 3 more Masters, no doubt about it. You know, he's got 1 under his belt right now, but this is the one that he wants to get. And you saw Rory McIlroy last year when he finally clipped off the last one at the Masters, how he fell to his knees and kind of emotionally broke down. It means a lot to these guys, and to finally get it, Rory, then it's just a huge milestone. So I think he would take this one first, and then he'd probably try to clip off the next 3 with the Masters.
Is it just that whole notion of these championships and the courses? I mean, the U.S. Open course is very different than the Open Championship and a link-style course, and the Masters is different than both of them. So it's just showing off what a complete game you have.
Yeah, it is. And each one of them has their different abilities. I mean, at Augusta, you need more of an all-around game. You need to putt well. You need to pitch well. All that kind of thing. U.S. Open, you want to hit fairways and you want to hit greens, and you're not going to be making a ton of birdies, but it's a golf tournament where they're trying to not only get you to get all your 14 clubs dirty, but they're trying to mentally tax you with your gray matter in between your ears. You know, an Open Championship, you just try to survive the elements because that's what keeps scores lower or higher, because when the elements and the wind and everything is happening there on link style type of golf courses, that's what makes the golf tournament more difficult. When there's no wind, those guys play really, really well over there. And then a PGA Championship, it's kind of an adaptation of all of the U.S. Open and the Masters, in that it still tests your game depending on where they're competing at, but it's a little bit easier on the mental psyche to be able to win a major. Even and having said that, majors are tough playing against the best players in the world. So it's just one of the top 4, and it's a great one to have a feather in your cap.
You talk about getting your 14 clubs dirty. What I noticed watching the Truist last week was, man, these guys look like they have brand new shoes every time they play. Is there a requirement? Because those things are shiny.
Well, I don't know that they're brand new. They may have worn them a few rounds or something like that, but I always found when I put on a brand new pair of shoes, I got blisters. So everybody's wearing the best stuff that each one of their sponsors is putting out there, and they color coordinate their outfits and their shoes and everything. It's all planned for them that they're going to wear these certain outfits these certain days, and so it doesn't surprise me that their shoes look that new.
All right, let's get to it, Bob. It's time for our draft. Who do you want to take? Now, we've got the new rule this year that you can't draft somebody in multiple tournaments, and you took Cameron Young, Bryson DeChambeau, and you also took Gutterup last time with the Masters. We talked about this, Bob. You know this. Don't go, what?
No, wait a second. I'm looking at the draft that you sent out to us.
Yeah.
I took Rory, Colin Morikawa, and Sepp Straka.
No, you didn't.
Did not.
Not in 2026. You took Cam Young, and I was going to take Cam Young. You're a cheater, man.
List,
You're freaking Patrick Reed. That's who you are.
Oh.
Okay, so I took Cameron Young. Who did I take again?
DeChambeau and Gutterup.
Cameron Young, DeChambeau, and Gotterup.
Yes, and we have the regional assignments, which is I'm still getting the short end of the stick. I got Brooks Koepka because I'm skinny now, apparently. John Rahm
no,
for
you're
PK.
buff.
Yeah, that's right. And Xander Schauffele for you. So because the
we can change him up.
Well,
I'm Irish. I got Rory.
I'm going to take Roars this one.
You're taking Rory out of the gate.
I'm taking Rory.
All right.
Number one.
Well, then I'll take Cam.
Oh, you fetcher.
All right, PK, who do you want?
Well, now I got to regroup.
You got to regroup with Rory and Cam gone.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go Fleetwood. I'm going all foreign this time. Yeah, I'm going all foreign. I just decided.
Okay.
I almost wrote.
Then
Nick,
I
almost typed
John
down.
Rahm.
No, John Rahm's his regional pick. You can't have Rahm.
Dang it.
I almost put down Mick Fleetwood. I always do that. Tommy, I got it right. Thank you.
Say women. They will come and they will go.
Just mess that up.
I'm going to take J.J. Spawn.
J.J. Spawn.
Warren Spawn's a better pick. He had one shot in the dark.
Warren Spawn, listen to you.
People even know who that is?
Some old-time pitcher. Well, like 900 games.
Left-handed, dude. Left-handed.
He threw left.
Did he
was
pitch
a
from like
southpaw.
the 30s to the 50s or something?
Yeah, I mean, you're classic. Anybody know who it is? And then you name 5 things about him. You're a nerd.
Well, I know. That's why I said, does anybody else know? I didn't say I didn't know. You take J.J. Spawn. All right, then I am going to go Matty Fitz.
Oh, I said I was taking all foreign.
You took Matt Fitzpatrick round 1 of the Masters. You can't take him, so stop your whining.
You got me there.
Take his brother.
You know, I thought about taking Big Al. And you were so against him being able to do it, and then look, he almost won the thing last week. Come on, Bob, get off your high horse.
How about him? How about that guy? He wins with his brother.
Yeah.
Then he finishes 9th at Doral, finishes 4th last week. He's made almost $3 million now on the PGA Tour.
And you didn't even think he should be there. You thought it was unfair. He was just riding his brother's coattails. You thought it.
I did.
Are you taking Big Al?
I thought it.
Yes. Welcome to my world, Bob.
Okay.
Welcome to my world.
Who you taking?
Justin Rose.
Oh, I already typed in Big Al.
That's a good pick because he won there in 2010.
I told you I'm going all foreign.
Okay, and then I'm gonna follow up with Spieth.
You are taking him. I knew you were sandbagging.
Yeah,
knew it.
You said my third pick.
I knew you were saying
He did call it. He said it.
Yeah. Bum, bum, bum.
Come on, DJ.
Yeah, I'm growing old here.
I'm thinking about whether I should use him now, but I think I'm going to hold on to him.
Go ahead. You want Scheffler.
I was thinking I'm going to pick him off in the third round.
Well, I get first pick at the U.S. Open.
Come on.
And he's a lock for number one.
Oh, yeah, so you better take him now. Take him now. Come on.
Akshay Patel.
Hey, he's playing well. Hey, DJ.
Yeah.
DJ, here's a stat for you. His last 3 events, he has finished second.
Second. Yeah, I know.
And that hasn't been done since 2014.
I don't know. I just got a bad feeling. I don't know what it is.
You got a bad feeling about Scheffler?
I do. I don't know what it is.
Well, what about Meredith and Bennett? How do you think they feel?
Meredith and Bennett. I'm going to go with Morikawa. I'm going to go call him Morikawa.
Really? He's had a hurt back all year.
Yeah, but he's getting healthier. And he's played well with the hurt back.
Okay.
Third round is for a flyer.
Third
round's for a flyer. I'm taking a flyer. You took Spieth. We're taking flyers here, Bob.
Yep, that's right.
I'll go Oberg.
There you go. I knew that one was coming.
Wait, who did you take? Yak was talking to me. I couldn't hear.
Oberg.
Oh, Ludwig.
I said I go all foreign.
Okay.
I'm getting a guy who lives in Oklahoma City. He's all foreign. Or Stillwater, I guess.
Hey, that Oklahoma State Cowboy is a legend.
You took 2 guys I've taken a lot, and they've been close, but they've never done it for me, in Ludwig and Justin Rose. I've picked them so many times, and they're going to come through for you. I can feel it.
Justin Rose is getting up there in age, but what the heck?
I know, but I had him at the Masters a year ago, and he finished second. He was right there.
You can taste it.
Are you saying he's long in the teeth?
He is old by PGA Tour standards.
Oh, yeah. Was he 45?
Yeah. But he's playing really well. He's always in the mix.
Oh, he's playing great golf.
He's playing great. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, there we go, Bob. Are you taking off to go? Or are you going to sit one out for once?
I'm sitting one out. BT's going back.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we'll both be at the U.S. Open.
There you go. All right, Bob, well, we appreciate it. Bob Casper and Brian Taylor's appearances all week long are brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountainland Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Uinta Golf. Bob and Brian will be on every show all week long, updating us on the PGA Championship. Coming up, May 14th. That is tomorrow. Beehive Meals opens their new production facility in Ogden. Tune in as Scotty and the coach broadcast live, covering the grand opening and bringing the energy. Beehive Meals tomorrow. New production facility in Ogden. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Matt Murschel talking UCF football. The spring football tour continues. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time to talk college football. Matt Murschel joins us, UCF and college football writer for the Orlando Sentinel. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
We are doing well. How are the UCF Knights and you doing? And is it the same, or is it different?
I think they're doing well. I mean, they just wrapped up spring camp a little later than normal, but they had a pretty good camp. They brought in 41 newcomers in year 2 of Scott Frost, and they think they've got a pretty good group here now. You know, now that Scott's had another year under his belt, they feel like they've brought in enough experience and talent that they can help them maybe make that jump up into being bowl eligible from where they were last year.
Yeah, I went and listened to his post-spring wrap, and he was talking about how just a more comfortable second year, and it makes sense that he would have more comfortability going into his second stint, second year. And you talk about those 41 transfers, and I'm thinking that's probably led by the quarterback from James Madison, Barnett, who was the Sun Belt Player of the Year, 2-year starter. Some decent stats, 58% on the completion, but ran for almost 600 yards. I assume he didn't follow Chesney to UCLA because they already have a quarterback established there for the Bruins, and so Barnett decides to go south to UCF. I know he was limited in spring, and Frost was talking about watching him throw. but how much of the success is going to be riding on his ability to be successful this season?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. You look at the fact that he's their cornerstone piece to this transfer portal class. He was the guy that they brought in early on, and they figured that would help them kind of start to add some pieces around him. Because once you've got a talented quarterback in, it's easier to convince receivers and running backs and offensive linemen, to kind of sign with your team because, you've got a guy now who's in place and who's been to the college football playoff last year. He fits in well what UCF wants to do offensively. He can throw the football, but he's also got mobility, which allows him to get out of the pocket and make some plays. And the stability at quarterback is something that UCF really needed to focus on in the offseason because you look at what happened last year. They had 4 different quarterbacks who basically, saw time on the field. The year before that, they had 4 different quarterbacks who saw time on the field. They need to get that stability. They need to get the number one guy out there playing the majority of the snaps. And that way, I think that would help the offense, kind of do more than they would expect them to.
A wide receiver, Josh Derry, transfers in from Monmouth. How much faith do they have? Undersized, I get why he wasn't recruited heavily. He's 5'9", 182 pounds listed at. Has he proved enough, and how did he look in spring ball? Does he match up against bigger players?
Oh, yeah, he's done an amazing job in spring ball. I think every player we've spoken with has talked about Josh Derry and his abilities, to make plays, to get separation from defender. He's a guy that, like you said, is a little undersized, but has found a way to still, make those kind of plays. He has a playmaking ability. And then there's his work ethic. This is the guy that comes into UCF. He's every morning at 6 a.m. He's in the practice field, working out. And that kind of mentality has started to carry over to younger players, to other receivers on the team. Now they're joining him at 6 a.m., trying to continue to go out there and work hard and try to find a way to get better. And that's something that you want. So they feel like Derry's going to be a big piece of what they're going to do. I mean, Dwayne Thomas Jr. is still the number one guy, and Wade Charles is going to be number 2. But I think Josh Derry is that third, slot receiver guy who can really kind of maybe, be impressive at times and really help them kind of, spread open the field a little bit more.
Well, Dwayne Thomas is a small guy, too. I think he's only like 5'8", but I've had enough of the small guys. I want to talk about the big guys. And you want to talk about the big guys for the UCF team. It starts, and I can almost argue it ends, with Horace Lockett, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Horace Lockett's a big part of what they want to do defensively. He's the guy that steps in the tackle spot. He was banged up last year and didn't get to play most of the season. But he's a guy that they really believe can be the heart and soul of that, defensive line, especially when you think about the fact that Malachi Lawrence and Nigel Kelly, your 2 ends, are gone to the NFL. You need a guy to step up and be the man. And he flirted with the transfer portal during the offseason, and there was some thought that he might leave, but he decided to come back, and it's a big part of what they want to do at the line. They brought in a lot of transfers. They got a few players that they think are going to come back and be contributors, but Horace is going to be the guy in the middle, I think, that's going to be able to give them that push up front because they need to continue to carry and try to get takeaways and try to be disruptive in the backfield, and I think he's going to be a big part of that.
On college football's all-name team, I expect to find Sincere Edwards. However, he did not get to practice. There were a lot of guys held out. How are all these guys going to be back? Is Sincere going to be back? Because I love that name. And how big an impact are these guys? And if they're not there, how big a problem is it? Because the list, I'm reading a spring football story here, the list of guys held out is pretty long.
Yeah, I think some of that, these guys are expected to be back. I think some of that is, these guys were banged up coming off of last year and just needed time to get themselves back into the swing of things. Scott Frost made a really good kind of point about saying these are financial investments now. We've made investments into these players, and we can't just go throw them out there and something happens and they get banged up or hurt. Now we've lost on that investment. So I think, that's kind of the mentality they've had is yeah, sure, spring is important, but some of these guys is year 2, year 3, or whatever with the program, and it's a chance for them to maybe rest up a little bit. They've had a lot of snaps over their careers, and it's a chance just to kind of get them rested up and get them up to speed. I think more importantly for them, it's just building that chemistry, building what they're trying to build there with the culture. And a lot of the players we spoke with that's been a big part of that. These guys have really kind of bonded and feel like this is a good close group.
Bringing back Lewis Carter, linebacker, leading tackler. We talked about Horace Lockett, 6'6", 355 up the middle there. I think at the linebacker spot, you'd point to Carter as being an impact player.
Yeah, Carter's another big piece of their defense bringing back. He's a guy that really was the general out on the field during the defense, and so he's a guy that they expect to continue to play that role. They brought some pieces around him through the transfer portal that's going to help him out. They've got a secondary that's got a lot of experience returning, a lot of returners coming back, so the secondary is going to be strong, but they need to get the middle of that defense to be just as tough as the rest of it, because they're going to have to find a way to slow down Big 12 teams. And that's something that they struggle with at times. That they would get behind and then they'd have to find a way to kind of catch up. And that's not really what this team is kind of designed for. So they need guys like Carter to continue to grow and evolve. And I think that was a huge addition in the offseason. That was someone that basically they could keep having come back.
When Frost was there the first time, the pitch was, hey, this is a program that's rising. There's so much talent in Florida. Some of these guys are going to want to stay home or close to home and play, and it worked. But now it's all about NIL. Is the vibe completely different? Are the challenges? Is it almost like even though he has his old job back, he's got a brand new job?
Well, yeah, for sure. I think that was the biggest challenge that Frost faced last year was, last time he had been a head coach, transfer portal was nowhere near as competitive as it was now. And NIL wasn't nearly as bad as it was now. And neither was revenue share. So he was trying to deal with that on the fly and figure out how to get these guys to come back and want to be a part of something. He tells the story that, the moment that he gave his introductory press conference, he leaves the stage and he goes to his office, and there's 2 kids standing outside with their agents and basically asking him for more money. And Scott said, I don't even know who these guys were. I didn't even look at the roster to that point. Had been like, and you got guys already demanding more money. So I think they've done a good job in the off season. They added a general manager in Trent Mossberger. And they've added, a couple other pieces to where they've kind of built a system in place now that'll help with the NIL, with revenue sharing, those kind of situations. So, they can kind of be competitive and try to get the kind of players they need to get and fit the needs that they really need to have.
They got a pretty good tight end in Dylan Wade. I think he led the team in terms of touchdown receptions. Probably needs some more, but you can argue that he has the potential to be the leading receiver, and he's a really good player.
Yeah, Dylan Wade's going to be a big part of what they do offensively. He was the guy that they were really, when the offseason, when they were looking to try to keep some guys, we talked about Horace Lockett, but Dylan Wade was one of them. Dwayne Thomas was one of them, and to convince those guys to come back for another year, to be able to play, I think that's huge for them. They needed a safety valve, and I think Dylan kind of stepped into a larger role last year, and they feel like he's a guy that can really, he could be that X factor on the offense, and the guy that they can really rely on when maybe things, break down or you need a first down on, a 3rd and 6. He's a guy that can go out there and make that play. And I think that's going to be crucial for them. So Dylan is a guy that I think they feel like is a big part of how, if they're going to have any success this season, he needs to be around.
Frost said that other than defensive end, they're pretty clearly better at every spot. And you see the 5 wins last year, they held opponents to 14 points or less. And in 5 of the losses, they gave up 30 points or more. They lost a couple games in the 20s as well. Do you see the defense as better, and is there an impact guy who's going to make the game easier for everybody else?
Yeah, I think the defense has gotten better. I think that was been the thing that they really wanted to do. They wanted to add some pieces that they felt like could really maybe help take them to the next level. And I think that's something that they're going to need, especially on the road where they really struggled. They needed guys to really step up and make plays, and I think, where they're going to really kind of have some help is, that edge spot. I think they're going to really need some guys to step up there. Isaiah Nixon's a guy that's been around for 4 years. He's going to probably step up in that role left by Malachi Lawrence. And you mentioned Sincere Edwards. I think he's another guy that's going to step up. Ty Bartram is a name that I don't think a lot of people will recognize, but a guy from Harvard who was a captain last year that has just really kind of caught everyone, the coach's eyes, and they really think he's a guy that's going to be a big-time playmaker. He's a safety for them. That's also kind of the captain of the special teams and, really has kind of assumed that leadership role as well. And I think he's a guy that can be someone that could really step up and make some plays. And then, there's some other guys that they feel like that could step up and really be the contributors. But most of those guys, I think, are coming back.
You talk about how it's different the second time around for Frost. I would argue that the biggest difference, NIL is huge for everybody, but for this particular program, it's being in the Big 12.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a big jump from going to the American to the Big 12. And Scott's had experience, obviously. He was in the Big 10 with Nebraska and understood, as a coach, kind of the challenges of playing tougher teams. But I think where that comes into more effect is, as I mentioned, is the road games. It's being on the road, going to venues, trying to find, ways to win games on the road when things are tough. And that's something that they've really struggled with, not just under Frost, but under Gus Malzahn, the previous, leadership. They struggled at times on the road. And if they can find a way to win some of those road games, I think they have a better opportunity to try to be a contender in the Big 12. But you can't go on the road and just, look like a totally different team. They've done that a couple times last year where they come off a big win and then they go on the road and look like they just forgotten every way to win. So I think that's going to be the challenge for them is trying to find ways to make sure they can be competitive on the road and win some of those games away from Orlando.
Is bowl eligibility the goal? Is that it? Do they need to compete in the conference because some people have written big checks? What is the goal for Scott Frost this year?
Yeah, I think for sure they need to be bowl eligible would be a huge step for them. I think if they could get to 7 wins, 7 or 8 wins, that would be big. Now, every player we spoke with obviously is telling us they want to win the Big 12 championship. But is that likely? I mean, it just depends on if this team can bond. I think they've got to take steps, and I think the next step is to be bowl eligible and get to 7 or 8 wins, and then you can kind of see where you can kind of build some momentum off that. If they don't do that, if they struggle, if they, finish 5 and 7 again or worse, I think then the pressure starts to mount a little bit for Scott because, it's the idea that, listen, yes, you had lightning, you caught lightning in a bottle, so to speak, when you won in 2017, but you're going to have to find a way to do that now. And you got to find a way to be better at it. And he's got the tools now. There shouldn't be any reason why they can't.
Well, man, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for joining us, and we will keep our eye on UCF.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Matt Murschel joining us, UCF and college football writer for the Orlando Sentinel. BYU is at UCF October 24th. Utah and Texas Tech miss UCF, so Houston is their big road game. They're largely playing teams who were in the bottom of the league last year. Some of those teams might bounce back, but the door is open for those guys.
It's flung right open. Everybody sinking bowl eligibility. I can remember being down in Vegas at the Mountain West Conference Media in the time where the Mexico Lobos were just awful, and I think they were 1-11, and me and Ben Bagley were doing the show, and right to our left was the New Mexico people, you would have thought it was a friggin' Ohio State, man.
Every time you take your headsets off and listen, they're just pumping them up, man. Here come the Lobos, look out.
Oh, Bulls, yeah, they're a contender. I'm like, guys, man, no.
UCF went 3-0 in non-conference last year, then 2-7 in the league and missed the bowl eligible. And one of their 2 wins was Oklahoma State, which was obviously a complete disaster. And they get to play Oklahoma State for one of their 4 road games.
Yeah, but Oklahoma State has gotten a huge influx of transfers.
Of North Texas guys.
And a lot of programs, including the Hammer, has picked them in the top half of the conference.
To be bowl eligible.
The Hammer.
The Hammer. That's PK's nickname for John Wilner at the San Jose Mercury News, if you're not following along.
Well, right for KSL.com. What do you mean the San Jose Mercury News?
I believe it's
KSL.com.
It is syndicated
That's
here.
Nobody cares that he writes for San Jose. It's KSL.com.
Okay.
That's where he writes. We're localizing it. And so, yeah, they pick it up. But the Hammer's high on Oklahoma State.
All right.
Yeah.
They brought in the coach from North Texas and a lot of players.
And their
North
quarterback,
Texas had a good team,
they're looking at him as an NFL guy. So that there's been other teams that have had dramatic turnarounds. So I wouldn't look at Oklahoma State as some patsy as they have been the last couple of years, bizarrely.
Should be time for a bounce back.
Yeah.
There's Matt Murschel. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Here comes Wembanyama, going to work again, backing it in. Victor, kick out, Castle, left wing, Castle, back to Wembanyama. 3 ball on the way, yes sir! Victor Wembanyama feeling it. 16 in the opening quarter. Anthony Edwards of the logo at half court. Over to Nasri, left wing, knocked away by Castle. Castle against Edwards, Castle slams it down for 2. Timeout, Minnesota. Steph Castle and the Spurs defense has come alive in the second half.
And the San Antonio Spurs dominate Minnesota 126-97. Spurs now lead the series 3-2 in PK. When Victor Wembanyama is very good, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 0-3. When he's been bad or ejected, they're 0-2, and they got to be really dejected that ejection did not lead to a suspension, because that was probably their best chance in Game 5. And if Minnesota fans are hot, and if Phoenix fans for 20 years ago are hot, I get it, but there's not much they can do once he takes the court.
Well, that's why if they win the title, I will consider it bogus, just like I did in the Phoenix thing, whenever that was in Steve Nash's era. And then they had a 50-gamer that they won a title when they only played 50 regular season games. So they basically have 0 or 1 title in my eyes.
It is so funny to me how some teams get held responsible for shortened seasons and other teams totally get away with it. And no one ever says anything. That 50-game season sticks in everybody's craw. But I think if we look it up, there was a 66-game season that the Spurs won a title in also. 2 of their 5 titles really did come in shortened seasons.
Yeah, but you decided 66 is okay. You told me that somehow the schedule would be good if they played 66. So I'm going to go because of my deep respect for you.
Oh, thank you, BK.
You acknowledge that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my
You're
idea
welcome.
when they were talking about shortening the season 20 years ago and they didn't, as opposed to now when they're talking about it and they're not going to do it. You play everybody twice, you play everybody in your division 4 times, boom, 66 games, and we're good. Let's go.
And
Get rid
that's
of the
ironic
back-to-backs.
because when I wanted the Jazz to hang a Northwest Division banner, you poo-pooed it and you said divisions don't matter. But then you turn around when it makes your point and you play everybody in your division. But you scoffed when I said we need to acknowledge the divisional championship. Do you remember those days, Dave? Yeah, I think you do.
As a matter of fact, they do. Yeah, I'm acknowledging there's only so much money they're going to give up. I'd be okay with everybody playing twice. They'll never do it because the Celtics and the Knicks need to play 4 times because they make money off it. The Knicks need to play the Nets and the Sixers, so blah, blah, blah. But you're right. I'm a total hypocrite on that issue. Good work, PK.
Thank you.
Cleveland and Detroit tonight, Game 5. What will happen? 6 o'clock ESPN. Cleveland at home again, like every other game in this series and every game in Detroit's last series. Or finally, does someone break through on the road here? Excuse me, be Detroit at home, or does Cleveland break through on the road?
Oh, I think they're very capable of winning in Detroit. Absolutely. I've been saying all along, this is just a sliver of difference between these two teams. And so basically it boils down to who plays better than the other team and who gets some. And you were talking about Sam Murschel, I think it was yesterday, making some vital contributions off the bench. And that is plausible, as are some other guys, whoever it might be. You know, there's a minuscule difference between these teams. So it may come down to Mitchell and Cunningham for all I know, but it could come down to some role players playing a little bit better than what they normally do.
The Philadelphia 76ers, 7-game series. They beat the Celtics. They're feeling great. They get swept by the Knicks. And now they sweep out the president of basketball operations. Daryl Morey is gone. They keep head coach Nick Nurse. Bob Myers, who helped build the Warriors, is now the president for Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, and he will lead the search for the new top 76er executive who will oversee the franchise's basketball department. PK, you always go nuts over to the shooting threes and some math nerd. And it's not just one math nerd. There's a whole line of them. And Daryl Morey is somewhere near the front of that line. I think that was a very analytics-driven he made a bunch of analytics-driven decisions. Everybody does to one degree or another, but I think he does to a larger degree. Maybe it'll change a little bit. Maybe they'll get away from that a little bit. See where they go.
He's your guy. I remember you quoting him. I think you must have heard him on your Boy the Herd show or something. You came in and quoted him. I'd never even heard of him. So,
what did I quote him about?
I don't remember, but because I think, who is this guy? I don't. And then he did something with a tweet or something that got him into trouble.
Yes, the whole thing about China
or,
was him tweeting about China. That started that snowball rolling downhill.
I heard that the president is going over to China, and on the plane with him was like 15 billionaires.
Yeah.
And at least 7 of them were BYU fans, apparently.
Hey, I see what you did there. I wondered where you were going with that. Like, what is the point of this? There's the point of that. Couple of deaths in the NBA. Jason Collins, first openly gay NBA player, died of brain cancer yesterday at the age of 47. His brother Jaren, his twin, played for the Jazz for a long time. And Memphis Grizzlies forward Brandon Clark found dead in California at the age of 29. LAPD telling ABC News Clark was suspected of having died of drug overdose. No evidence of foul play. 29 and 47, that is very young for both of those guys, PK.
Well, we didn't know Jason, but we had Jaren on a number of times back when players used to be able to come on the show, and he was very accommodating there. And he's an LA kid, both of them were. I remember them growing up.
Stanford, right?
Back from my time. They did go to Stanford, yeah. Them and ironically the Lopez twins, two big men twins. And then Clark was a high school phenom in the Phoenix area. I'd heard of him for many years, and there was a lot of tributes I saw yesterday from Phoenix people because he grew up there. He played, I think it was Desert Vista High School, and was a star. Went to San Jose and then over to Gonzaga, and has been a pretty good player in the NBA. And if there's some drug stuff, it's just it's bad either way, but somehow this makes it a little bit worse if it was self-induced and what was going on there. It's crazy. It's so unfortunate.
DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Well, aren't they also sometimes the owners are bringing in grass for like soccer and not for their own players? So how do you go about that? Because that just seems really off. Why wouldn't you want to protect your investment in that?
Right. You look at FIFA; they'll roll out the grass, the green carpet for soccer players, and that's become the norm. Where over in the European leagues, that is what you do. You play on grass. They have surface standards that. Each thing is rolled out. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. And those players will not play if it's not that. And I think they came out to a practice in the DC area and they went out just to a practice field and they said, this isn't good enough. We're not practice today. And that's what the players decided. They are very particular. I know there are some for the high level players that's in their contract. If it's turf, I ain't playing on it. And that's how they take a stand. And I think this is something that's really important to guys.
NFL players are watching some of these NFL stadiums get new temporary grass fields installed for the FIFA World Cup that's upcoming next month. I know Seattle's getting one. That's why RSL had a game moved. And so now you hear the debate, whether it's players, whether it's agents. maybe sometimes some executives, they want grass on all these fields. Turf is good, but not good enough. It's better than it used to be for sure, but not good enough. 92% of the players say they want grass over turf in a poll of 1,700 NFL players.
Sure, fine, get grass, but I think that turf doesn't affect the game in the manner that it affects the game in soccer.
That is an excellent point, and the way the ball rolls and the way the ball bounces and all of that. I do think that as they build new stadiums, and they're going to keep building new stadiums, and I don't know if Buffalo did it. I hope they did. I expect they didn't. But what they did in Phoenix and Las Vegas with the grass fields that roll in and out, and there's concrete underneath, so you can roll the field out. You don't damage it. You can have your concert or whatever large event in there, basketball games, whatever. These buildings, they cost so much money. You got to use them more often. You just can't build something for a few $1 billion and then use it for just 10 NFL games. They got to do something else. I like what they've done in Phoenix and Vegas, rolling those grass fields in and out. They got the technology. Sure. Let's do it.
Does it have to be a dome, though? I mean, can you do it? Can you roll in grass in a Rice-Eccles stadium?
You've got to have the land off the end of the stadium to roll it in and out of, and you've got to build the stadium so there's access to it. Once the stadium is built, like our local stadiums here, that's really hard to go retrofit that. That doesn't make much sense to me. But as they build new ones, and they're building a brand new one in Buffalo, I would have liked to see it designed that way. But
I'm trying to grow grass in my yard thanks to the plumbing company that destroyed my yard. So we'll see if I can do it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Mr. Green Thumb, Patrick Kinahan. NFL, full schedule out. They're leaking games here and there. Madrid, Spain gets the Cincinnati Bengals and the Atlanta Falcons. Kansas City and Denver are going to play. It's a Bronco-Chief game in the first Monday Night Football game. I assume that's only a marquee game if Mahomes is back. So is Mahomes going to be back for that? Because it seems like the first month still seems iffy. Maybe he'll be back.
Andy Reid's on track. He's back.
He's back.
He's going to play.
There's no way they would schedule that game without him, right? So that's just a sign he's going to be back. And Knicks is supposed to be back in plenty of time for that game.
And I want football, real football, to overtake football as the world's most popular sport. That'd be a crushing blow to you two guys.
No, we'd be okay with it.
It'd still be a crushing blow. No.
Michael Penix Jr., Falcons quarterback, back on the field, throwing passes 6 months removed from ACL surgery. It's his third ACL surgery in the past 8 years. Previous two came while he was in college. So I guess he knows how to rehab from ACL surgery. Third time.
So we got married, too. A big off season for him.
DJ and PK.
#college football.
ACC coaches and athletic directors have consensus. They want to see the college football playoff expand to 24 teams. That note coming out of the league spring meetings. ACC, Big Ten, and Big 12 all in favor of the 24-team tournament, while the SEC remains steadfast in saying they want the playoff field at 16 teams. Now, a few coaches in the SEC have come out in favor of 24, but right now the SEC is putting the brakes on the bigger tournament.
Well, of course, the Big 12 and ACC would want it.
Yeah, more access. They don't feel like they're getting
understand.
Much. Yeah.
And the SEC is, I think they'll come off of it in time because their stronghold that they've had on college football, now that everybody could pay, has been reduced. And so the power that they've had will slip and continually decline. So they won't be able to think the process of, well, we'll get the most teams in, so we get to hoard the most money, so we'll have the advantage. And I think that's going away. So I think over time, this will happen, whether it's 5 years or whenever, I don't know. But at some point, it'll get to 24.
You have long said, once a committee is involved, look out. Here come the politics. Here comes human emotion and all that. I have heard as part of this 24, they are still flirting with the idea of automatic qualifiers. Maybe 4 from each of the power leagues and 2. I mean, it's all to be negotiated. Any of these numbers are squishy and can move in any direction. And maybe 2 for the G5, and then that leaves a committee to pick 6 slots, which the Big Ten and the SEC assume they'd be getting their 5th and 6th teams in then. I don't know what that'll look like exactly. That's one thing I've seen thrown out there. It'll be interesting to see if they do those two things at hand. Reduce the committee's responsibilities, have way more automatic qualifiers as part of this expansion. We'll see.
Yeah, and then they'll have a few at-large bids just like they do in basketball. And then you need a committee to set it up, unless you already pre-assign seeds, which I don't think they would do that. So there would be a need for a committee, but its influence would be greatly reduced.
Right. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian taking a shot at Ole Miss, saying at Texas, we'll only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours, but at Ole Miss, they can take you. All you have to do is take basket weaving, and you can get an Ole Miss degree.
Well, I think basket weaving is an important fabric of the society, because how else would we have baskets if we didn't have someone who would weave them? So I think that's a shot there. But don't try to act like you're some high and mighty academic institution when we know if the University of Utah is restricting players from taking certain classes, as Devon Bailey told us himself when he was trying to pursue an engineering degree, and they said no because it's in the way of football. You're going to tell me Texas, which is a football institution, they don't do the same thing? I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it.
Look at you getting all logical. That's my role. Well, highly logical take from you.
Individually, if what you want to do with academics. And because the other 98% of the student body, and maybe it's not even that much, they have to adhere to it. How much do the players have to adhere to it? And how many people and how many athletes? Did Arch Manning go to Texas to play football, or did he go there to play school? You ask me. And that's not a knock on Arch Manning and his intelligence by any stretch. But they're choosing these institutions because of football and money, not because of the engineering school or the business school or any of that other crap.
Nope. That was Devon's point. He said he wanted to be a contractor when he's done playing football, and he needed an engineering degree, and there's no way that works out when you got a football schedule. You just can't do it.
And now he's going to be a star opposite Jordan Tyson.
That would work.
Passing attack they're going to have.
That'd be cool. Gives me a rooting interest. I feel like I know him just a little bit. But let's go. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Payoff pitch here to Grisham. Runners go. Here's the pitch swung on a deep drive. Right center field. Going, and gone! A 3-run homer for Trent Grisham. And the Yankees have blown it open. It's 6-0 here in the third inning.
Swung on, smoked into the gap right center field. It's down for a base hit. It's cut off by Matthews before getting to the track, and Cal Raleigh has a base hit. The dugout celebrating. And so's Cal. Everyone can feel great about that one. Cal Raleigh with a base hit.
Now here is Haas, who hit one in the third inning. Right-handed batter. And he swings and he hammers one. High and deep left center. On its way. Adios, Pelota.
Highlights from the day in Major League Baseball. Cal Raleigh 0 for 38. Now that's a slump, PK. I know you were a light-hitting third baseman at Thunderbird High, but 0 for 38. Oof.
Yeah, I would also add, and please include a weak fielding.
No, you were a Gold Glover. There were only 3 errors, and one was a high chopper in the Moon Valley field, and it spun the wrong way. No, I'm not buying that. I'll go with light hitting. But
I'll give you 10 minutes to stop.
Seattle routs Houston 10-2 as Cal Raleigh gets off the schneid and gets it going. Shohei Ohtani been a bit of a slump, but hey, he snapped out of it. Didn't help the Dodgers, though. They dropped their 4th straight. Giants beat them 6-2. Shohei, the slump at the plate. Would you like 10 minutes to remind us that you said this would happen? He's pitching. It takes so much energy and focus. And now it's not just that his hitting's suffering in the days he's pitching, but he's in a slump we really haven't seen the likes of on the days he's not pitching. And now they're going to give him a day off, apparently. We'll see if that home run breaking out of that slump there changes that. But they were going to give him a day off from hitting, just a complete day off, and then a day he was pitching, not put him in the lineup DH in there. So 2 days without him stepping to the plate.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it come to pass. It hasn't been done for a reason. And I think other players could have done it but they were too valuable doing whatever. Mike Trout threw a perfect game no-hitter in high school once. And I was at Dodger Stadium once when they were playing the Angels down at Pac-12 Media week and coincided with that. And I went to the ballpark that night, and he threw a guy out from center field, and they said the throw registered 94. And that's not 60 feet 6 inches.
Right.
That's from center field to home plate, right? And so it's not a knock on Shohei. And this was an intense discussion about this very topic yesterday on the Baseball Network. Guys who played the game were talking about this very thing. And yeah, I think there's a cumulative effect there. We're showing, and the Dodgers are going to have to figure out, well, what do we want? Because, when he was bashing those home runs these last couple of years, for one season, I don't think he pitched at all. And then last year, he was essentially a limited part-time. Yeah. Not just a part-time, but if that makes sense, a limited part-time. Yeah. I put a qualifier on it.
He was a spot starter coming back from that arm surgery he had, Tommy John surgery. So he was pitching, I think, regularly and infrequently, which doesn't sound like they go together, but he was pitching. It was just so limited. It just didn't take the same amount of energy. Part-time. Yeah.
And his pitching has been dominant so far this season. You just look at the numbers, and they can show you. You can go on. There's a lot of analytics in pitching, but the basic numbers of pitching has upheld. Whereas in hitting, now it's slash lines and all this other stuff, and your head is spinning if you don't know what they're talking about. But I think pitching, you still look at walks and hits per inning and strikeouts and blah, 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 blah. There's other stuff, spin rates and whatnot, that factor into it, certainly. But I still think that the basic numbers of pitching have been there and will continue to be very important. So you don't need a PhD to figure it out. And you don't need a glossary to figure out all the terms. And he's been very good. So they've got to decide. One is going to suffer. I just don't know that you could keep it up at a top level. And they're losing right now, so I don't know what they're going to do.
So that's his first home run since April 26th. The Dodgers have dropped 4 in a row, but they've also gone 4-9 in their last 13, and they've scored 3 runs or fewer in 10 of those 13. They need more. Now they're getting Mookie Betts back. He's been out, that should help punch up the run scoring a little bit. But they may need Shohei to do it as well. I mean, he's in the leadoff spot. He's got to be contributing in that spot. So, the argument to have him stop pitching, even though he desperately wants it, and to some degree you have to keep stars happy. But, he's got all this info too, and they're in second place in their division and probably the 4th best record in the National League. That's not where they're supposed to be, not with that payroll.
No. And they have pitchers who are very brittle and seem to be injured a lot, too, and that's compounding the problem.
Paul Skeens flirting with another no-hitter, left with 8 innings, 2 hits. He's just dominant, and they beat Colorado. Pittsburgh beats Colorado 3-1.
Yeah, I think he struck out the first 6.
He did.
And then he only struck out 4 the rest of the way.
Yeah, he had 10 overall.
But he struck out the first 6, and then the 7th guy lays down a bunt or something. And he's like, nice bunt, as he throws him out. Seemed to just kind of roll with it, just blurt that out and then go back to the hill.
Yeah. Well, any way you can get on against him. But as I told you, I watched the entire start that he had against the Diamondbacks 1 or 2 starts ago, and he wasn't just blowing people away. He was pitching, and I thought, wow, if he can do this combined with his overpowering stuff, Liv Dunn is going to be a very happy lady.
All of a sudden, you've got some combination of Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux out there. That would be awesome. Bees beat El Paso 11-4. They play again tonight at 6:30. Tony Parks on the call on 1280 The Zone. DJ PK.
#RSL.
Real Salt Lake hosting the Houston Dynamo tonight. America First Field. The Dynamo just won in L.A. They beat LAFC 4-1. That is impressive right there. Houston inching up in the standings after a slow start. They've been climbing. They are not far behind Real Salt Lake. First kick at America First Field tonight at 7:30. They just put out a list, as they often do, PK, of all the teams and what they're paying. And RSL has one of the top 100 best compensated players in the league and is 23rd out of the 30 payrolls. I guess the price
of how much?
Price of poker is going up. What?
Who and how much?
Morgan Giavogi is making about $2.2 million. They spent more because they had to spend more to acquire him, but his salary was listed at $2.2 million. Justin Glad was at $1.1 million, but I don't think he was in the top 100. I think he was like 150 or something like that. 7:30 for the game tonight. Pregame at 6:30 on 97.5 The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Eichel finds it right circle. They threw it across. They score! Dorothea! Pandemonium on the strip. Vegas 3, Ducks 2. The Knights take game 5. Eichel to Dorothea. The Knights win it in overtime.
Vegas Golden Knights, a 3-2 series lead after a 3-2 overtime victory over the Anaheim Ducks. And in the other game, Buffalo somehow threw up. Just getting in the attacking zone there, just dumped the puck in. It hit the boards, bounced back, hit the goaltender's skate, and went in. Tied the game at 2. They got a power play goal for the third one, and they win 3-2. So that series with Montreal is 2-2. You got to do all the right things, PK, but you sometimes need the puck to bounce your way, and the Sabres got that in a big, big way.
Yeah, that's with this sport. There can be some fluky goals, that's for sure.
Yep. Tonight, Game 5, Colorado and Minnesota. The Avalanche with a 3-1 lead over the Wild. That's on TNT tonight at 6. The Pittsburgh Penguins star Sidney Crosby going to Switzerland to represent Canada in the Men's World Hockey Championships. It'll be the 38-year-old's 4th appearance in the tournament. The World Hockey Championships always overlap with the Stanley Cup. So if you're with the Stanley Cup playoffs, so if your team goes deep, you're not available for the World Championships. Always bizarre scheduling, and it always happens that way.
It's sort of like the Pro Bowl.
Ironically, you're right. What is trending? Brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. All right, coming up, Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio at 8:30 to talk PGA Championship, and Krysten Peak, NBA.com and Hoops headquarters contributor. She will join us at 9 o'clock and talk about the draft and how she thinks things are going to play out at the top, which is also our question of the day. Should the Jazz change the way things play out at the top? How much would you put in the pot of gold that the Wizards are bound to demand if they're going to trade out of the top spot? We'll get to the question of the day next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The Jazz made a huge decision and gamble by flipping Rudy and Donovan. You and I both think it was the smart decision. I don't think that Jazz team was going anywhere with Donovan and Rudy. They were all capped out. They didn't really have adjustments to make. They could have moved on from Captain Jack and found a different coach and see how that worked, but really, it wasn't going to fix
Captain had a couple of different coaches. It didn't change Donovan.
It didn't change anything, right? So they moved on from Donovan, and Donovan went to Cleveland and is the exact same player as he was here. I don't agree with the take that he's better in Cleveland than he was in Utah. I think he's the exact same player. He didn't get better. He's not getting more out of his teams. And in my opinion, that makes the Jazz look good. And it is relevant because the East does suck. And if you can't get out of the second round in the East this year, it ain't happening. It was true last year, and it's even more true this year.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Tomorrow, Beehive Meals opens their new production facility in Ogden. Tune in as Scotty G and the coach go live, bringing you all of the action. Beehive Meals, longtime partner with KSL. They also bring you the Hero of the Week, honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest, and listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Thanks to Beehive Meals for all their support here on the Zone. All right, DJ and PK. PK, this is your true genius. People don't understand. They don't know. How do you do it? You listen to the people. You talk to your neighbors. You hear what Ute fan, Cougar fan, Jazz fan, RSL fan, Aggie fan, Mammoth fan, whatever they have to say. You mull it all over. And then using that newspaper training, you think, what should go above the fold on the front page? Does this headline go all the way across the top, old school style? So you, instead of putting up 2 or 3 questions, because there are multiple things going on in our community at all times on the sports scene, because the sports scene just keeps expanding and growing, you just focused on one because your heart, your soul spoke to you and told you, AJ Dybantsa is a story. You posted, what would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? Now, 40 or 50 responses in these days on social media, where stuff like sports, I think the algorithms depress the responses and don't really show our questions. If you put something up there political, it'd probably, get 20,000 responses. I am impressed that you defeated the algorithm with your knowledge of the local sports fan base, because we don't have 50 replies. We don't have 75 or 100. We have 150. 179 replies. This is what people want to know. AJ Dybantsa, how do you get him? What is the price? And there are a lot of people who will back up the truck. But I was surprised reading these, and we're certainly not going to read 179 comments. But I was surprised how many people in here had some version of what Jared said. If they want the number 2 pick and some junk, I'd listen. But otherwise, forget about it. If AJ falls to number 2, great, take him and be overjoyed. If not, take DP and realize you got a guy who's going to be great too. And he might better fit your current needs anyway. Sure, AJ might be the better player 10 years from now, but just because he has Utah ties, it's no guarantee he'll stay here anyway. So Jared's like, whoa. Don't let the Wizards hold you up. You're going to get a good player either way. Be patient. And there is a lot of that in here. Tons of that. Ryan, stay at number 2. Draft Peterson or AJ, whoever Washington doesn't take. Ryan's all about being patient. Give them nothing, he says. You surprised by the amount of patience in your people?
I suppose to a degree. But you need to figure out some things. Who do you believe is not just a better player in a year or two, but who has, if there is one, there may not be, but the old higher ceiling they talk about. If you think one is significantly higher than the other, and who's to say that they don't necessarily trade up to get Darren Peterson for that matter? We've been talking about AJ because of his local connection. We understand that. They've got a lot of stuff that they need to figure out in terms of potential and fit and character. And I mean, the list is, 10 deep, basically. You can injury factors, the health and all that stuff. There's so much. And a lot of it, you can't really totally figure it out. You're sort of surmising there. So with that in mind, it makes it a little more difficult. But this is the most intriguing situation that the Jazz have faced relative to the Jazz, relative to the draft, since obviously Darren Williams or Chris Paul. And so they've got to go in a direction that maximizes it. I think they can't lose. So that's comforting that I don't think they'll make a bad pick. They won't take an Exum or a Cantor and then it doesn't work for various reasons. I don't think that's going to happen. You never know, but I don't think so. So there's something there, but it's not just that. You want to be able to get the very best player you can get. And, watching Darren Peterson, he's obviously a talent. The one thing, DJ, that's got me a little nervous, I found out his middle name is Nathan. Doesn't that scare you a little bit?
You don't like the name Nathan? No great athletes named Nathan?
No, just put out his initials then, knowing that his middle name is Nathan.
I was slow on that. Thank you, PK. DNP.
Right. That's been an issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if he went out and got one of those commercial trucker driving licenses, they call him a CD, he could be DNP CD.
Right.
That'd be really bad. You wouldn't want that.
And that would be, the C wouldn't be coaches, it'd be creatine.
I did not play creatine decision. All right.
Okay, now in all fairness, a lot of times you guys ask me.
Text that to some NBA executives see you get a laughing emoji back.
You guys often ask me, "You've been sitting on that?" And most of the time I'll say, "No, I just."
But this time you were?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thought of it yesterday.
All right, all of you listening, take that to work. DNP, drop that. Everyone's talking about it. We don't get 179 responses on a Facebook page unless everybody's talking about AJ Dybantsa. So take that to work. When you open up the meeting today, open it up with that because that's what everybody's talking about. The weather was great last night, PK. And I had a little extra energy. I went for a walk in the neighborhood just to burn off some steam. And, man, I thought of you because there were so many. I thought of you and your wife. There were so many dog walkers out. I bet I saw 40 dogs on my walk, all on leashes, all out with anywhere from 1 to 5 people. In one case, a whole family was walking the other way.
Sure.
And so I saw Sentinel, and it was getting pretty close to dark, and most people were going in. But there was another couple going out for the walk, and the husband was standing in the driveway right by the sidewalk where I was walking, and the wife was at the door grabbing something and locking the door, whatever. He's waiting. He looked at me. He looked at her. He looked back at me, and he said very quietly as I walked by, "Who would you draft?" I said, "I'd draft AJ. That's just me. I want the bigger player." Yeah, I want more rebounds. I want the bigger player. I want a guy who sticks his arm out and deflects more passes. Yeah, give me that. Give me that all day long. They're already working on a jumbo-sized team. Let's go.
Yeah, and this is the dominant story. My wife's golf league started up or continued yesterday, and she got paired with a lady whose adult sons are listeners and all, and so she asked my wife about, is this something that he wants to talk about, and is he glad it happened? And my wife kind of looked at her like, duh.
I know.
Yeah, this is a dream come true for storytellers, which what we are, and we don't have to manufacture topics. It's right in front of us now, and it's dominant. This is so critical. And Darren Peterson comes out yesterday and says that he views himself as a point guard. I'm wondering, okay, why did you say that? Maybe there's no ulterior motive, and that's just who you view yourself as. Mm-hmm. Although that position, obviously the definition of that position of coming down, looking over your shoulder on the fast break, hop, stop, bounce pass for a layup, that might as well be 200 years ago. With that in mind, it's changed so dramatically. So what does that mean? And did he say that because of a situation? Well, maybe he doesn't want to go to Washington because they got ball chucking, ball hogging Trae Young, and little guys don't really win in this league. And he's really the ultimate little guy, and he can make all-star teams and put up numbers and make tons of money, but do you win? And maybe he's looking at it, hey, I'd rather go to Utah because look at Dylan Harper. He's in a winning situation. He's going to play on a team that's got a legitimate chance to the final because they scored a couple of times in the lottery before he got there, right? And so then they score a third time. And I'm not saying the Jazz are going to be playing for the title next year by any stretch, but the fact is they are built to win at a pretty good level next year, and then see, because he comes in as a rookie. Well, Wembanyama's already been in the league, Castle's already been in the league, and so who's to say in 3 or 4 years when these younger guys are even more mature, and Jaren Jackson still isn't 30, and Lauri Markkanen is only 31, that at that point they're not a serious contender. And so maybe his people are saying, yeah, tell him that you want to be a point guard. And does Washington, do we really want Darren Peterson? We're not of the situation where we can bring in a guy who's really good, but have him sit. Whoever we bring in needs to play and play big time minutes because we have sucked for so long and we got so many holes in our roster. So I'm wondering, was there some political motivation in making that statement? I have no idea, but it's something to consider. And the Angels and all those people for the Jazz, they'll be able to figure that stuff out to a much clearer definition of what the guy is as they see and talk to him.
I'm 100% on board with you with what is the reason. Now, maybe it was as simple as he was asked a direct question and he gave a direct answer. There might not be anything to it. And at the same time, we've been around sports long enough, there definitely could be something to it. And both things could be true. It could be what he feels in his heart, and it could be super political because he knows exactly how that answer is going to land. And it could be the truth. So there's no reason it couldn't be both. I think
it could be.
I think to the point about the way the position is evolved, it is evolved in multiple ways for multiple reasons. One way it's involved is obviously the person who brings the ball up court is way more likely to shoot it without passing it now than they were back in the day. You were talking earlier this week, or maybe it was, I think it was earlier this week, about I was never that big on James Harden. I mean, I liked him. He won the MVP, and I don't begrudge him that. But I always thought in the playoffs, he's easier to defend because you have 2 weeks to get ready, and the ball's in his hands so much. It goes back to what we were saying about the Celtics and three-point shots. You can have a strength, play to that strength, enjoy that strength, but you've got to have options. You can't go through potentially 28 playoff games needing 16 wins and only win one way. You've just got to have options. There has to be. And if the ball, if Harden gets that high a percentage, and if he shoots it without passing it, and the other guys are just standing still, you become too easy to defend. And the point guard who does that, I just think it's a major issue. I think one way we're seeing now is with all these point forwards out there. That was a cute term 25 years ago. Now it's just true on so many levels. You can have multiple guys who start the offense. You can label one the point guard. As long as you don't make your team too small, what do I care if guard A starts 60% of the possessions and guard B starts 40? Two-guard fronts used to be a thing. You grew up going to Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
They won titles with a two-guard front. There were some specific offenses that had a one-guard front because of the way they spaced the floor, and that's where the whole point guard thing started to evolve. But there was a time they didn't even use the 1 and 2 as designations. You're just a guard. Jerry West is a logo. He played his whole career as a two-guard front. You start 40% of the plays. You start 60. You start 80. I think that's totally fluid. I just think the key is don't make your team too small. If you put a 6-foot point guard out there with a 6'3" point guard and you say you're not really guards, either one of you can start it, I'm worried about defending at the other end of the floor. Somebody's going to guard a bigger guy and it's going to be a problem. You're going to get picked on. So this goes for all the guards in this draft, and we don't care so much about picks 5, 6, 7, 8, but I'm intrigued by them. And you like the kid out of, was it Illinois?
Illinois, Wagner,
yeah. He's got size. So he could play and split with some 6'2" point guard like Trey, and as long as Trey's willing to give him the ball and not start 95% of the possessions when he's on the court. And that's the other thing. How many minutes are you going to play these guys? How many possessions you start in a game is limited somewhat by the fact of how many minutes are you going to play. You can't start the possession if you're sitting over there on the bench. So if you can get a big point guard and pair him with it and say, okay, we got a couple guys who can play the point guard spot, and maybe you're starting 30% of the actions, maybe you're starting 60%. Yeah, David Locke used to have a thing during the Quinn Snyder era about where they were running a pick and roll on one side of the floor into a pick and roll on the other side. Well, you need two guys who can run it at that point. So I think you got it. That goes back to the point you made at the top of the segment. There's a lot for Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge and Jay-Z and the coaches and the whole staff to figure out here. And one thing is, where do they think the game's evolving? You're making a pick for 7, 10, 12 years. What's true today may not be true. People may alter the way they play. It could be a different deal. How much can you foresee the future? That's a big ask, but at the same time, if you're drafting for the next 10 years, you got to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right,
it makes it so intriguing.
It really is. There's so many things to consider. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. More of your responses. I just hit one common response, but there were some other really good takes in here. People are thinking about this. People want AJ Dybantsa, but they are also different price points to hit on before you swing a deal with the Wizards and feel good about it. All right, DJ and PK, we'll get to that next. Stay with us.
For Jazz fans, it's been a rough few years. Well, those days are behind us as the Utah Jazz finally struck gold in the NBA Draft Lottery.
Picking second.
As the Jazz prepare to draft a potential superstar with the number 2 overall pick, nobody will bring you better coverage of the NBA Draft than the KSL Sports Zone. For all the breaking news, high-profile interviews, and player analysis leading right up to draft night, keep it locked on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Qualifies for the Copper Rock PGA Championship. You know the deal. We're signing a golfer in the PGA Championship this week. One of our listeners, 25 of our listeners get the top 25 players in the world, and a 26th listener will get the field, and then we sit back, we watch the tournament, and see who wins. The winner will receive a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. Still got some big names to give away, Yak? I know you can't tell us.
It's filled up pretty good so far, but there's still names out there.
Okay. Well, call right now. You might get a big name. Top 25 golfers in the world. Who will it be? We'll find out shortly. Call right now, and Brian Taylor's here at 8:30. Real Golf Radio. We'll talk PGA Championship with him. The question of the morning, which is the question of the week, which is really the question of the next 6 weeks. What would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? Throw an elbow into Austin's ribs and move him over. I'm driving this bus, Austin. Here's what we're doing.
What am I, Vic Wembanyama?
Yeah, right.
Throwing elbows?
No. Because I said in the ribs. If you're Victor, you're going right for the neck. Hit him right in the throat.
Right, but I'm short. I can't hit those guys in the neck.
Hence, you can't be Victor. You have to be tall and hit guys in the neck. You're just a random NBA player hitting somebody in the ribs. That happens every night in every game. All right, so here's the deal. What would you give up? Some people are just saying nothing. There was a ton of sarcasm. Matt, I'd say the number 2 pick and a bag of chips. So see, he's up in the ante right there. Depending on the chips, could be pretty good. Sensabaugh, the number 2 pick, and a handful of magic beans. That's Dan right there. Hector, I'd love AJ, but is it worth messing with a core you have? Peterson's a great pick at number 2. And not that it really matters, but head-to-head, Peterson got the better of AJ in the game they played. Yeah, I wouldn't want to judge anything on one game. You're projecting what these guys are going to do over 10 years. I just saw a thing that because all the people are posting videos from the combine and the drills and all that, which is fun to watch. That's fine. I watched some of it. But you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. Somebody, and I don't know if this is true, I didn't look, but apparently Conkin-Epple was super mediocre in that three-point shooting drill.
8 of 23.
You saw it too. That is unguarded. Unguarded, wide open. He went 8 of 23. And meanwhile, there's an argument that he's the best shooter in the league. There's other guys who are pretty good snipers too. So it depends on the quality of shot you're getting and how many you're taking, but he's really good. Aaron would offer up a dozen Cougar Tails and a caffeine-free Coke. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for the
throw in some caffeine.
Don't give up anything. Draft Peterson and then get AJ as an unrestricted free agent in a few years.
Yeah, but that's more than a few years. That's a lot of years.
He says 4, but see, at that point, he's restricted. He's not unrestricted at 4. Right. That's restricted. If you're waiting unrestricted, you're
doubling that.
Oh, yeah. Donovan Mitchell was traded at 6 years, I think. But he was signed for a couple more. So his unrestricted free agency was still, I'd have to go back and add up all the contracts. It was like
I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 years.
My patience is very, very thin now, very short. That we just gone through 4 years of losing. No, I want to win to the highest level immediately. I'm beyond development, knowing that you have a rookie and he's going to have to develop. But I like the development that the Spurs are doing with Harper. He's not playing big minutes. But he's playing enough to where he's developing. And they'll see what they need to do as far as when his time comes and what do they do with Fox and Castle and the other guys that they got there. I want development's fine, but I want to win. We've been 4 years for a franchise that went to the playoffs 20 years in a row, whatever it was. That's too much here. Now it's time to win. And so I'm not about what could possibly happen. I'm surprised that there's not as many people, maybe there are, you just haven't got to them, that say, yeah, let's go for this, man. You got a chance to get somebody who wants to be here and wants to flourish here. And it doesn't look like it's going to take that much. And we can just throw out some deals that I think Washington clearly would be interested in.
Nathan wants to trade Lowry Markkanen, a number 2 pick, and a future first rounder. Lowry's great, but he's too old for the current core. Number 2 is just needed, a future first, because we're going to be really good soon enough, so that won't be a lot to give up. The problem with that deal is before you even get to the talent is you got to make the money work. So now who are you taking back?
Yeah, I think they can make the money work, but I would consider trading Lowry Martin, but not Lowry Markkanen.
Lowry Martin. DJ and PK. Coming up, there are some more suggestions here. Some people are echoing you. Other people do have other ideas. We'll get to them. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Get a free sleep screening and consultation with Scotty G and the coach, broadcasting live from Sound Sleep today from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Visit Sound Sleep Medical with 6 convenient locations across Utah and start sleeping better today. Question of the morning, what would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? And PK, there's some takes here I find really interesting, even if I don't agree anywhere either agree that they're possible or they even want to do them. Here's one I just don't think the Wizards would ever agree to. But my gosh, this would shake up all the headlines and give everyone something to talk about. Billy, hear me out. If the Wizards are trading the number 1 pick, what if we go all in? Ace and future draft picks. In return, we get the 1 pick, hold on to the 2, and then we draft both DP and AJ. I bet the NBA would love that one.
That's not going to happen.
The first thing the Wizards want back is the number 2 pick.
Of course.
They're not doing this if they don't get the number 2 pick. There's
their
no
fan
way.
base would revolt. They'd be run out of town.
Yep. Ammon says number 2 and the 2028 Cleveland pick.
Sure.
That Cleveland pick is going to be, I don't know, pick 20 or 25. Is that
in 28?
And that enticing?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think in 2 years Donovan's gone and they blow the whole thing up.
I was going to say Harden and Donovan could be out.
Yeah, I mean, Harden to be 38, 39 years old at that point. Donovan has wide eyes and wants to get someplace where he's not.
He wants to be on a bigger stage.
And so, that's the guts of that team. I mean, they still got Mobley and Jared Allen and Strus and those guys, but those guys are nice, but they don't have top-end talent at that point. Mitchell's top-end talent, I believe. He's not quite good enough to carry a team that far, but he's still top-end talent. He's a top 20 player in the league, and that's conservative. I can't say that that's going to be a bad pick and the Jazz could sell it. They could say, hey, look at Mitchell. He's got wandering eyes. He always has had it. Wherever he is, he wants to be someplace else. And Harden, he's going to be a graybeard at that point, literally and figuratively. And so with that in mind, this is going to be a good pick. But I would think they would want somebody like Sensabaugh who can score the ball. Clearly he can score the ball, and Washington needs more help. And get a nice role player, that would be really good. On the other hand, let them decide what they want. Don't give them anything. And if they want AJ, so be it. We'll take Darren Peterson and put him in the lineup, eventually replacing George, and George come off the bench. It's sort of funny. George was there representing the Jazz, possibly getting his replacement.
Ironically, that could happen, yes. that could happen. JC says, this draft is like LeBron and Melo and D. Wade back in 2003. You can't miss. Whoa, if you passed on LeBron and took Melo, you missed.
Well, I would even say Dwayne Wade, and that's not a knock against Dwayne Wade because he's a Hall of Fame player. I would go Melo or Dwayne Wade, but LeBron's on another tier.
That's the exact reason to make the trade. If you believe that one of these players is going to be the best player on a championship team, while the other player could be the second best player. Dwayne Wade was the second best player with Shaq, and they won a championship. He was the second best player with LeBron, and they won 2 more championships.
Yeah.
But if you think one of these players is LeBron and one is D. Wade, you got to figure out a way to go get LeBron, and at that point, it's a little hard to overpay. If that's really who they're going to be, the reward's so great, I don't know how you say you overpaid. I think that's the thing when people say in the NBA, well, if you get the best player, you win the trade. Because if the best player is that good, they'll all go to the Kareem trade or the Barkley trade or whatever, and there's no doubt. Phoenix didn't even win the championship, and they won the Barkley trade. Those were good times.
Well, yeah. There's no guarantee in any trade you make that it's going to produce a title, but you make it, and usually, if you get the best player, you have won, and so we understand that. It's hard to project that these guys would be that good, but maybe they are, and if I say these guys, and I say it plural on purpose, then the Jazz can't lose, and what a position to be in. I just don't know that there's going to be that. How many drafts have had 2 superstars that they were the number 1 guy on a title team?
One. 1984. Hakeem Olajuwon and then Michael Jordan. 2 titles and 6 titles, and he got picked first and third. But there's so few guys. If you go through
and Jordan had to be out of the league when Olajuwon won.
So the 80s and 90s, there were only like 5 teams that won. There were like 5 guys who could say, I'm the best player on a championship team. Jordan, Magic, and Bird could say it, and the other two were Isaiah and Olajuwon, who don't get put on the same tier with those other three guys, but nonetheless, they got 2 championship rings, so who really cares what anybody says? They can just look at their championship rings. So over 20 years, go ahead. Over 20 years, over 20 years, you've got 5 guys, and 2 of them were in one draft. That's the only time it happened. Even now, you look at we had 7 different guys in 7 years, but they're spread out across different drafts. Kawhi wasn't in the same draft as Steph Curry, as LeBron James, as Giannis, as the Joker. Yeah, there aren't going to be 2 of those guys in the same draft. You could have multiple All-Stars. You could have multiple Olympians.
Yeah, well, we have. And we'll continue to have that. I don't think that'll change. Did you know that there's one team that drafted 2 NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same draft?
The Kansas City Royals. Don't mess with me, PK. 2 guys flipping around on social media during a game that got out of hand. There it is.
Sean Elway and Dan Marino?
Yeah. Yep.
But I thought Elway was in the Yankees organization.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Did they trade him? I don't know. I hadn't heard that. I just was flipping around and saw that, and that was funny, but I didn't even look it up. I didn't want to know that bad. And, for me, that's a low bar, but I didn't look it up. Because I think you're right. I thought he was the Yankees. I'm going to go play for the Yankees. It carried more cachet.
Yeah. When George Steinbrenner was at starting to take off for the Yankees. I didn't know about Marino, although that doesn't surprise me. Tom Brady was drafted by somebody. Was it the Giants or whomever?
Yeah.
That's not that big of a deal.
Dave Winfield, Tony Gwynn, a couple guys I grew up in San Diego.
By like 10 teams.
He was drafted in the NFL and MLB and the NBA. And the NBA draft, Tony Gwynn was a good college player, but he was a 10th round draft pick.
It was 10 rounds.
Yeah, and the Clippers, it was like, hey, he's the local guy. Let's get a little pub and make him feel good, and people like us, what the heck? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, if Joel Kramer can get drafted out of San Diego State, then Tony Gwynn can.
That's enough out of you. Oh, the Royals drafted Elway, but he never signed with them. So that's it. So then he must have gone back in the draft and gone to the Yankees later.
When did it in Marino?
Yeah, there you go. 2 years later, the Yankees drafted him in the 2nd round, and he signed with them for $140,000 and played 1 year of minor league ball. So, as leverage to get the Colts to leave him alone. Trade me to Denver, man. I don't want to deal with you.
And that's
people.
what AJ Dybantsa should do.
Yeah, and he might. And he might.
Yeah. He'll go play baseball.
How about this for serious? John says, and we know John, because this is John from Jay Brooks, John Branscombe. There's a photo of him. He's like, draft picks. 2 number 1s seems fair if that's who they want. Washington needs several more players. So would you give up 2 future number 1s? And the quick answer is, well, it depends on which number 1s, right? If you're going to value that Cleveland one, that Phoenix one in 2031 as a wild card, are you talking about your own?
I don't care which number 1s. If the qualifier is if they think Dybantsa or even Peterson, maybe they fall in love with Peterson, either one, if they think he's the man and he is the centerpiece and he is going to be the next LeBron, if that's possible. But even if that's probably too high, but he can be the man on a team that is the last team standing, then 2 number 1s, who wouldn't do that? I don't care where they are, because that's somebody else. Because if I'm worried about where they are, that may mean that if I keep the picks, they're lower in the draft because I'm already worried about where they are. It's not a bona fide guarantee that the Phoenix pick, that the Cleveland pick, any pick is going to be 3 things, that it's going to be in the lottery, and this convoluted lottery thing, I got to see it. I can't explain it yet. So the lottery things have changed. So I can argue that picks aren't going to be as valuable, or they're going to be more random than they've ever been. And so I've got that. Then I've got to make sure that I win the randomness. Then I got to make sure that there's a good player. So I'm looking at 3 or 4 things. JB, and if you want picks, give up picks. I agree with JB. I give up picks in a heartbeat to get if I believe that kid is going to be the transform himself from the kid to the man, I'll give up as many picks as I have to. Who wouldn't? Especially with this lottery thing going on, and who knows what's going to happen. You are getting so mysterious that you need palm readers now to try to figure that stuff out.
Didn't have any money on palm readers getting in on that take, but okay. That was kind of random at the end, but sure.
I've told you all the great ones, they have the comparisons, the similes, the metaphors. And palm readers, that's so descriptive and illustrative, and we can all vision it. Some old lady who's kind of mysterious and wears chiffon and has some type of headgear. You know what I'm saying?
Ben says I'd offer Ace. They wanted him last year. And if we had AJ, Ace would just wind up coming off the bench. AJ's just better. I think in positionless basketball, they don't have to come off the bench. I think those two could play together. Why couldn't they?
Well, I don't think there's any way Ace Bailey finds himself as a substitute for the next 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. Just start AJ and Ace together. What's the problem?
Well, fine over there. Yeah, that's another story. But I'm talking about Ace Bailey. No, he is going to have the opportunity to flourish. Locke is telling us he sees that kid being a potential number one option by February, guys. And he's 20 years old. How many number one options on a playoff contending team are 20 years old? Not very many. But that's what they're excited about. And Locke is not just pulling stuff out of thin air. There's just no way he's saying that without any form of informational background to support that theory, because he'd make himself look stupid. And he's not. Obviously, he's one of the brightest guys I know. And
he talks to a lot of people.
Constantly. He can't sit still.
He can't sit still. He can't stop talking and thinking. He had Jazz posters on his wall when he was a kid. He is absolutely 100% so intrigued by how they're going to build this going forward. He finds it fascinating. I've known him forever. None of his enthusiasm for this project is fake. I don't believe that. You don't believe that. I don't think Yak knows him as well as we do or as long as we do, but Yak doesn't believe it either. This is how David is wired. You're just talking to him on the phone before you put him on with us every week. You get a blast of this.
For this guy, right?
I'd forgotten that, but I did know it. You're right, but I did forget it until you said that. So you've seen him in action. You've seen him before games.
Yeah.
There's no way not only has he heard this from somebody, I don't believe he's heard it from one person. I think he's heard it from multiple people.
He is a psycho in the best sense of that word.
Yeah. Somebody told him, and then he went on the plane and he bugged somebody else and said, well, what do you think? And then he heard it from somebody else.
And I had Farrah Fawcett and Barbie Benton posters on my wall.
Good for you.
Well, you said he had Jazz posters.
Yeah, I know. I got to see what you did there. Yeah. I assumed that you had the Raquel Welch poster on your wall. But
told you where your interests lie.
She's got San Diego ties. She was Miss Del Mar Fair. Yeah, okay, well.
I'm sure she was in your mind.
No, she was. Which means 13-year-old me is walking around the fairgrounds. We lived out in the sticks, and I was in 4-H, and I saw those photos all the time through puberty.
You got those photos in your mind were in 3D.
They were. As a matter of fact, they were. 14-year-old me, yes, they were. I can guarantee you that.
And the reason why I brought up Barbie Benton is some gal from way back. I didn't have posters of her. Is a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Worked for her as a chauffeur in California.
Really? Oh, okay. I know the name. I don't know who she is.
I think she was like Hugh Hefner's girlfriend way back then.
Okay. Yeah.
And then married some other dude. And when she got married to this other guy, my friend was a chauffeur. He had a chauffeur business in his early 20s. The guy who was on the dating game got picked on the dating game, and then they never went out on the date.
Nah. We have multiple people saying the thing that's coming up most in the trade is the Cleveland pick and Ace Bailey. And we got almost 200 responses.
Give away the pick.
Not Bailey.
Here's the pick. I give the pick today. What do I want as a pick when I've got a real live human being that has an opportunity to be a superstar?
The picks, no, that would never stand in the way. No way. And I just stated the reasons. Take the picks, please. Take my picks, please.
What are you, Rodney? It's old school. Take my picks, please. I don't get no respect.
That's Henny Youngman.
Oh, okay.
Take my wife, please.
Scott says Peterson's a better fit anyways. Take him at number 2 and count your blessings.
Name them one by one, Yak. I mean, count your blessings for sure.
I just don't want to hear about better fit. Get the best player. The fit now, this roster is going to change. All of these rosters change. You're not drafting for the next 2 years. You're drafting for the next 12 years. Get the best player. If it is the best fit, well, that's great, but that's just not why you do it. You got to go get the best player. And furthermore, I believe that 100%. I think they believe that 100%. You always love to quote Bill Armstrong because he came on our air and said the same thing. He's 100% in on that. I just don't think it comes down to fit. It just can't.
I don't think for the Jazz. I think more so for Washington because of Trae Young. I just acquired Trae Young, and he's got a bloated contract. So I think they need to worry about that. For the Jazz, I agree 100%. But I think for Washington, which is why I think they would go Dybantsa, is because they just acquired Trae Young. And you can't overlook that. You've got to figure that out. That's important for them. I think it's more important for them. And maybe I'm off base on this, but that's the way I see it. For the Jazz, take which player you think is the better one, or, for them, they're still going to have a choice. Even if everything stays the same, they will have a choice, and they'll have a choice from multiple situations. It's not simply going to just be, say, for argument's sake, AJ's gone. Now it's Jazz, you're on the clock. Mm-hmm. And they will know at that point. They won't literally think, oh, my gosh, they took Dybantsa. What do we do now? I don't see that. They'll have a great idea going into it, so it won't be under the gun, so to speak, and they've got, 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, but they will have already decided also. Even if they don't know, they'll have scenarios already mapped out. If they take DP, we will do this, whether it's draft or turn and trade for the third or fourth pick, 100%. And then they'll have the other one. They'll have the other one. If they'll have a scenario for AJ and a scenario for DP, and then they'll just go to that scenario. Well, this is what we do. They won't decide. They'll already have it figured out.
Unless they get some trade offers that
are brand new and last second, right?
Yes. So that could throw the mix in there. But you're right on that. But they will have decisions. It won't be, I don't think it'll necessarily be, well, if they take AJ, we take Darren, because there's other dudes that they need to consider too. And I think that's more of a long shot, but I still think they'll have a decision to make.
Well, there's a scenario. Let's say they decide DP isn't going to be healthy. They can't trust him to play. They find out his middle name is Nathan and his initials are DNP, whatever it is. Whatever that is. And I'm sure they know that by now because you've probably already texted them. But if AJ goes 1 and they decide that DNP, for whatever reason, is not their guy, then they'll already have the plan. Do we take Boozer or do we take Caleb? Or are we trading with Team X because they want DP and we're moving back to 3 and then we'll decide between Caleb and Boozer and do whatever we want? They'll have all of that mapped out and they'll have all that prearranged. They will have already had the trade talks with all these potential teams. What would you give us for this? What would you give us for that?
Yeah, but we know when there's deadlines that
the bids and the offers can change. People can suddenly say, I don't want to do it. We got something else falling our way. Teams have done that in the past. And they may come back and say, well, yeah, but the terms have changed. This is now the deal. We're taking this player, this pick out of the offer. Mm-hmm. People get to do that to see if it's a poker game, man. If you want to, call and raise at the last second, call and raise.
Right. Yeah, totally.
DJ and PK coming up next. Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, then Krysten Peak. We're going to run all this by her. We got to find out who she would take number 1, who she thinks the Wizards will take number 1, and what she thinks the odds are of a trade at the top of the draft. We'll talk with Krysten Peak at 9 o'clock from NBA.com. She's also a Hoops HQ contributor. But Brian Taylor on the PGA Championship. Find out what he thinks of our draft picks. That's next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and we are joined now by Brian Taylor from Real Golf Radio. Brian, good morning.
Good morning from Atlanta, Philadelphia, boys. How we doing?
Well, pretty good, but you sounded less than great right there. Hold on, Yak's going to work on that. That was wild. I would describe that as very electronic, PK. What would you go with?
I overmodulated.
Ooh, very nice. Highly technical, especially for you. I'm impressed with that.
I heard that. I don't even know what it means, but I just heard that.
It works.
You said it somewhere along the line. You're overmodulated again. I thought, oh, crap, here we go.
Yak is going to dial him back, and we'll get him on the line and hopefully sound a little better. And an engineer comes sprinting in. What in the world was that? Is the place on fire? How did that happen? All right, well, we'll work on that and get him from the PGA Championship. Can you watch first and second round, PK, or you just pick it up on the weekend? You're going to be locked in on this thing for 4 days. A little daytime sports.
Golf is the one sport that I can watch the early rounds if I'm busy at night when they replay it.
I've done that, yeah. Yep. You already know what's going to happen. You watch a basketball game. It goes to halftime. It's a 20-point game. You don't want to hear them say the obvious stuff, and you flip over and you watch a few holes of golf.
Or I will literally set the plan to watch it because I was busy during the day. And there's you look at the leaderboard, and when you look at it, it's like almost like eye pollution. And it's hard to figure out. You got to look at it 3 times if you want to see where's Ricky Fowler, and you got to study it. And I lose concentration. So I like watching. I can watch golf replay. I don't like watching replays of sports, unless it's some old thing, the Jazz in the '97 finals or what have you. And then it's fun to go back and look at that, or
but you don't want to watch
Sun Devils in the Rose Bowl,
you don't
whatever. But I can literally watch golf that was earlier in the day at night.
Well, we'll have that opportunity with the PGA Championship, and Yak is working on whatever. I don't know. Do you know what went wrong right there, Yak? That was pretty wild. All right, he's still working on it. So this PGA Championship could be history, PK. You ready for a career Grand Slam?
With golf, I think you have to be ready for everything from A to Z because it is one of the more unpredictable sports. Tiger made it so that now the pressure's on these guys, the better players. Well, you need to win and win consistently because he did. And I don't know that that's realistic. And we're seeing, Rory make a comeback, so to speak, because he had won 10 years prior.
Yep.
And was still around, still doing his thing, but he wasn't able at the highest stage. And then finally he gets it. Jordan Spieth, same thing. I think it's like 2017. These guys were young kids. Now they're men with families, and things get in the way. Can they still recapture it? And it seems like every year there's somebody chasing them. And a few years back, it was Scotty Scheffler. Well, now Scheffler's getting into that position where he's not a kid. He's become a man with a family, and things get in the way and all that. And who are the next chasers? Who's it going to be? Is this kid down at BYU, man? This Akina, this kid looks like he's going to be off the charts. Is he going to be able, somebody like him can challenge as these guys get in their 30s and they got all these things going on. They become like mini individual corporations, and people are pulling at them. And then you've got a wife, you've got kids, and those things are more important anyway. And you want to devote enough time to there. So there's so much that goes into it that you wonder if it's sustainable. And we get to see it. Rory, can he get another major, right? I mean, how far can he take this thing? I asked that for Nick Faldo back in October. How far can Scheffler take it? Basically the guts of the 26th season hadn't started yet, and thinking, well, is he going to win one? Is he going to win two? He's going to contend probably, because that's who he is. But, contending is nice and in the moment, but historically contending can only carry you so far without winning. And with that in mind, can he, speaking of Scheffler, be the dominant one in the era? I was going to ask Brian, if we don't get him, I'll ask Bobby Casper, is Chambly, who has a lot of opinions and has made himself sort of not the golf analyst, the golf commentator, because he doesn't have a job analyzing the shots as they're happening in real time. But when the rounds are over or in between rounds, he's got a lot to say. And I think he said Rory at his best, Scheffler at his best. Who do you think he picked?
Ooh, Rory.
Okay, I saved this. I bookmarked it because I saw it on Twitter, and I want to make sure that I get the exact quote of what he said, which then I guess
if they're both completely dialed in, who wins? I would think Rory. I think the fact that Scheffler doesn't have the classic swing, but see, when he's dialed in, all that doesn't matter. The footwork and they just hop, it's like a triple jump when Scheffler's out there. The hop, skip, and a jump. He's all over the place.
All right, I will literally read you the quote.
Yeah.
And the word cannot is uppercase. Okay. So obviously this is a video, so I'm just reading the
closed
quote,
captioning. But
the video must have been much, emphasized the word cannot. If Scotty plays his best game, Rory cannot beat him.
Oh, wow. Wow, I was exactly wrong. I was 180 degrees off.
Yeah.
Wow. So because if Scheffler wins the Open next month, then he has a career slam, which puts him right alongside Rory. You give him a fifth title. Rory's sitting on 6. If Rory gets 7, I mean, he's tied with Arnold Palmer. I mean, we have guys with a chance to write history here this year.
Yeah.
And is it Spieth right now who's trying to finish the career slam? Yeah.
Yeah.
Spieth is on 3 titles, but he has won 3 of the majors.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. And so
now he's married with 3 kids.
I know. And we've got, and he's joked / sarcasm about, he plays golf on the side. To your point about, life gets in the way. Stuff happens. He's married with 3 kids. He was single with a girlfriend when he started down this major championship pathway.
He was single with multiple girlfriends.
Hey-o!
Right, that's what I'm saying. He was a kid. Now he's approaching middle age in a sense. And how do you handle that? Johnny Miller was famous for talking about that.
Yep.
He went away for a bit because he had these kids to raise and he didn't want to sacrifice. And so what sacrificed was his game. We see that much more common with the women.
Oh, we can name
because
multiple.
They want to get married. They want to have kids.
Yeah,
I can name you 6, 7 ladies who were premier golfers.
Literally
and then
number
it tailed
1.
off.
Yeah, literally number 1 in the world.
Yeah, right. And other things happen, and so you got priorities. Michelle Wee never materialized to the level people thought because it wasn't her first priority. And she became a wife, and I think she's got 2 kids with Jerry West's son.
And Annika Sorenstam got to the mountaintop and walked away.
Perfect example. Elena Ochoa. A gal out of Mexico who was dominating, right? Yeah. Lexi Thompson just got married here recently, and we know Nelly Corda is engaged. She speaks of her fiance. Her sister Jessica got married. So it happens. Julie Inkster, Nancy Lopez, if you want to go way back.
Yep.
And things like that happen. So it's easier to understand from the female perspective because they're the ones that have to give birth and all that, and they're the mothers. But I think that it definitely impacts the males too. And so who's going to be there? Or can they channel it? Can they compartmentalize to where, okay, I've got 3 weeks to get ready for this particular major, and I'm really going to hone in on it. Maybe they can do that. It's all fascinating to see because I got Nick Faldo telling me you can be an 8 out of 10 and compete at a high level in various aspects of the game, but mentally you must be a 10 out of 10. And he was so emphatic. You can probably go and listen to it in the archives when I interviewed him last October. And here's a guy who won 6 majors, so obviously he knows what he's talking about.
DJ and PK, Yuck, should we go to this right now or you want to take a break and do it on the other side so we have more time? Okay, we're going to do it right now. Let's bring him in. Hold your breath. Brian Taylor, good morning.
Let's try it again, boys. How are we doing?
We're doing well. You sound good now. Hey, we've got a lot of ground to cover here with the PGA. What are the odds that we get history, you think? That Spieth finishes, because we've got multiple players trying to finish the career slam this year, the same way Rory finished it last year at the Masters. It's Spieth at the PGA, at the U.S. Open. It's going to be Scheffler. What do you think we get history this week? And history comes in many forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, history can come in all forms, right? As far as a member of the Career Grand Slam Club, I'm not putting a lot of stock into Jordan's game right now, unfortunately. I just don't think he's sharp enough and consistent enough. He talked about it earlier this week that his swing changes and his swing in general are kind of like smoking meat. You put it on there and you're watching the temperature rise, and it gets up to a certain temperature very quickly, and then it just kind of takes a long time. It seems like it takes an inordinate amount of time to get to the very end of it where it's just perfect. And so I thought that was interesting, and just watching the way he explained that, my takeaway was that it's not quite there yet, and it's pretty tough to do that when you're not fully confident in what you're doing out here at a major championship. That said, if you're looking for a PGA championship that he would do well in, this is one of them, because it's a pretty wide open, ballpark. They've taken out a lot of trees, and there's a lot of room to hit it off the tee. And so that's usually his struggle. But so there's a lot of room, and his short game's still there. It's not Jordan Spieth of 2015, but the short game is still there. So I'm not saying he couldn't put a magical week together, but it feels like there's a couple other players at the top of their game that are going to be tough to beat.
Brian, you speak of those trees being removed, and that's a little bit of been a discussion point because the rough is not U.S. Open rough. So you got some of the guys like Rory and others talking about, well, just bomb away because you don't really have a consequence if you're a little bit off. Do you think that's an accurate assessment, and it's the way it should be for a PGA?
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion point, right? I mean, that's the recent trend in golf course redesign is to remove trees. They look at pictures of the way that the architect designed these golf courses 100 years ago, and they don't see all the trees or all the trees grown up. And so it's a look of, let's take this back. Let's put it back to the way it was. And a lot of trees have been added. And, we talked about this last year at Oakmont. Oakmont was pretty wide open. And then it was one of the newspaper reporters wrote something negative about the look of it, and the membership did a beautification project and planted a whole bunch of trees so that it would look beautiful. And then when it got sort of redesigned back to the original architect, they took all those trees back out. And so it looks totally different. What I thought was interesting was Xander Schauffele said, yeah, there's a lot of bunkers, 173 bunkers or whatever out here. And he said, that's a lot of bunkers, but it was bunker's a bunker, whatever. But if it was a tree, now you're just having to see guys curve the ball. You're going to have to move the ball around the trees. Bunkers, no big deal for the most of us, right? And this is the battle that you have in this kind of a scenario. This golf course last hosted a PGA Tour event in 2018. So almost 10 years ago, the biggest names in golf came and competed for a championship here on this golf course. The rest of that 10 years, it's a membership. It's not a bunch of, players like us that are out there, wanting to enjoy the golf course. And so do you set up a golf course specifically for a major championship and the top players in the world that come once every decade or so? Or do you have, and how do you balance that with a membership? Because I think the membership would go crazy if it was too hard, right? And they weren't able to, carry all the bunkers that were out there, and most of us struggle out of bunkers, and especially from a 50 or 60-yard bunker shot, things like that. So these guys, they eat it for lunch. So it is an interesting discussion point. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. But as it relates to the competition this week, I suspect, Gary Player won at 200 par back in 1962, the last time the PGA Championship was held here. I suspect it'll be significantly lower. Last year, I think it was 11 under that Scottie Scheffler was winning at, and I could see that probably getting eclipsed this week.
We had our draft with Bob, and of course, Bob picks first. I pick second, and then PK picks third. Your top three favorites to win in this tournament. Let's see where they went in our draft and see if you're on the same page, if you think we really messed up.
Coming into the year, I went with Justin Rose, our way too early major predictions, and I decided to stick with it. But, he switches over to McLaren golf clubs, and I don't know that is the winning formula for coming into a major championship when he'd been playing, really quite well the last couple of years. And he lost in a playoff here. He also won here. So he's got a good track record. So I do still like Justin Rose. We'll see how he does with the new gear. But then I think it's 1 and 2. I really do. I think this is going to come down to 1 and 2. I think you're going to see, Rory and Scheffler battle it out. They're both so good. They're both playing so well. And, I think that's when you say history, we don't often get 1 and 2 battling it out in a major championship. And that's why I think maybe that's the history we could see is just an epic battle of 1 and 2. But, those are my 3 guys. How'd you guys do?
Rory was the first pick in the first round by Bob, and I agree that Rory would be history if he wins. I think history, there's many stories here. A 7th major title tied with Arnold Palmer, yeah, that'd be a big deal if Rory pulls that off. You didn't mention Cameron Young. He was the second pick. Justin Rose, PK took at the end of the second round. You didn't mention Cam Young.
Well, look, I think Cam Young's on a heater right now, and there's nobody that would pick against him. But those are my guys looking at it. But Cam Young's playing some awesome golf, inspiring golf, and he's fun to watch, right? He seems just like a sort of a blue collar hard nose. We talked Paul Azinger, years ago in 2008 when he was the captain of the Ryder Cup. He talked about his guys and what happens when you are on a Ryder Cup team and how that forges you as a player and how it can really jumpstart a career and all that kind of thing. And you look at the way Cam Young performed at the Ryder Cup. He's kind of the only American that really stepped up the entire week, and then he just has taken it from there and gone on. And I love Cam Young. I think he's a fun guy to watch. I think he's gritty. He stared down Scotty Scheffler, for 3 straight rounds and dusted him off, and that's not easy to do. So I think you got to give Cam Young all the respect in the world this week as well.
It's been a few years now, Brian, but how much do you think that the players like moving this tournament from August to May?
It's an interesting one also. There's a different cadence to it, right? I mean, you'd have the Masters, and then you go a couple months before you hit the U.S. Open in June. And then August was sweltering. So you had a lot of these, super hot PGA championships. That said, a classic golf course like this one in the Northeast this time of year is a bit of a crapshoot because the weather, you never quite know. And so one of the big stories coming in this week at Aronimink is, how would the weather hold up? Today was supposed to be particularly rainy. And it looks like it's going to miss it. It's super windy out there. I've just been out walking the golf course. It's chilly, it's windy, and there's no rain. And so if the rain does in fact hold off and it's not really supposed to rain the rest of the week, I think you can get this thing firm and it can play like it is designed to play, right? A championship test. A little bit of rain softens it, and it just, Max Homa was quoting Keegan Bradley, who won here, as saying it was a pitch and putt. I mean, that's... even if you think that, big guys don't usually say that. And so I think when you're talking about a classic golf course, a Donald Ross design like Aronimink, it's a proud club here and just an amazing property, so if there are kind of a pitch and putt scenario, that's not really how I would describe this. But to your point, I think some guys look at it now as sprint. You get all your majors, and then you got them surrounded by all these signature events, April, May, June, July, and then take a little bit of a breather and right into the playoffs. So I don't know. I think if I had my druthers, I like it again in August, but just because I think the number of golf courses and the way they can be set up is a little bit better.
Well, play out in the West. Quit holding all the championships back east. Come west more often. You get better weather. You can play in prime time, get higher viewership, make more money, which clearly the last few years, whether it's jacking up the PGA purses or the live money, everybody's interested in more money. We've had that confirmed for the millionth time. So who's going to listen to us?
U.S. Open coming to Pebble Beach.
Now you're talking.
And the wait for the announcement on the new schedule. They're talking about kicking things off in the West at a major venue with a big event to kick off the season, and then circling back around to the West Coast during the playoffs where they can showcase again some of those iconic golf courses. So I think you're going to see the West get a little bit more love from some of those courses later in the year, which I think would be beautiful, because when you're playing Pebble Beach and Torrey Pines in the spring, or I shouldn't even say spring, wintertime, January, February, again, weather is an issue. You get a kind of summertime and man, it can be absolutely ideal conditions, especially on those Poe greens. So I'm liking the future for the West. Hopefully they'll keep showcasing it, because I'm with you. I'm a West Coast golf fan, and I think there's a lot to it. But I'll tell you, the Northeast is iconic, man. It's always special to come to a place like Aronimink.
We are a little worried about you. We've had some coworkers where PK and I know they don't necessarily travel well alone. Bob said you went and he didn't, which is unusual. You going to be okay on your own back there?
You know, of the 27 years we've been doing this show, I don't even know the number of majors. I think I can only count maybe 2 or 3 where we've gone out solo. So yeah, it is a little strange. I think people look at me and they're like, "Hey," and then they're sort of like looking around for where's the other half, right? So there's Brian and Gina. You know, we've been married 30 years. Then there's Brian and Bob. We've almost been married 27 here on this show. So it's one of those kind of things.
All right, your golf twin there. All right, well, have a good time back there. Enjoy the tournament. We'll talk to you later this week.
You got it. Thanks, boys.
All right, thank you very much. There is Brian Taylor joining us from the PGA Championship. Bob and Brian's appearances are brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountainland Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and You Went to Golf. Thanks to all of our sponsors, DJ and PK, Krysten Peak, top of the hour on the draft. What would she trade to get AJ Dybantsa to Utah? We will talk with Krysten coming up. To win tickets Wednesday, we got a 5-pack of tickets to watch Real Salt Lake in the Colorado Rapids Saturday night, America First Field. We will give those away on the other side of the break. Don't call now. Yak will just hang up on you. Or do call now. Yak likes to hang up on people, and he'll just slam the receiver down on you. But we'll give those tickets away after the break. Stay with us. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we're giving away tickets, and today it's to see RSL in Colorado Rapids Saturday night at America First Field. 5-pack of tickets. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Win a 5-pack of tickets right now. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE. All right, DJ and PK went a little late there due to technical difficulties with Brian, so why don't we just dip right back out to break, Yak, and then we'll be on time because Krysten Peak's going to join us right after the break to answer the question, what would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? And largely, Jazz fans are showing a lot of restraint because I think he's clearly the player they want, but largely they're like, sit tight, pick number 2, do not give away the farm, you get a good player at 2. We'll run that past Krysten next. Stay with us. Tomorrow, Beehive Meals opens their new production facility in Ogden. Catch Scotty and the coach live on the air, covering the grand opening with full KSL Sports Zone energy. That's tomorrow, 10 to 2, right here on the Zone. DJ and PK, we are joined now by Krysten Peak, NBA.com, and Hoops HQ contributor. Krysten, good morning.
Good morning from Chicago.
Good morning from Chicago. We have questions. I have many questions. Who do you think is the number 1 pick in the draft? Who do you think the Wizards is the number 1 pick? Who do they think is the number 1 pick in the draft? If you were the Jazz, would you trade up? And what price would you pay? There are many questions there. Why don't you start by just taking an easy one? If you think any of those are simple and straightforward, feel free to jump in and answer one.
Listen, as soon as I saw the Jazz get number 2, I'm like, this is not going to be easy for them. It's a wonderful, wonderful problem to have, especially in this draft class, because I don't think that the Wizards are going to hold their cards close to their chest, right? Like they probably are going to entertain conversations with Utah, but what they're going to ask for, I don't think the Jazz are going to be willing to give up. And that's going to be Ace Bailey, plus the 2nd pick, plus another asset and a future first. And that is just not going to happen. So, who do I think is going to go first right now? I think it's going to be AJ. And number 2, Darren Peterson. Cam Boozer is getting a lot of attention of the way he tested so well at the Combine yesterday. Just with his agility testing and, and shooting. He's obviously not participating in the scrimmages, but there's going to be a ton of smoke, a ton of information coming out in the next 6 weeks or so. But if the draft were tomorrow, I think that's the way it would shake up.
I saw Dybantsa. They do a lot of different interviews, and I think this was with a podcast with Cowherd, and he asked them, do you have a preference? And he just answered very short and brief, whichever team drafts me. And that's literally that's all he said. And I'm wondering, obviously he's got the Utah connection, and that's very rare that anybody of the NBA caliber, let alone the first pick, has as a Utah connection. But I'm wondering if you think that maybe that might be a tie that his people can say to Washington, this is really where we'd rather be. So it might be in your best interest to go with Peterson or whomever.
I know Ace and AJ very well. Ace's father, who's, they elected not to have an agent. And so he's running things, and they also have a business manager. But I don't see AJ or Ace going to Washington. They're not going to do what your ace did last year and say, we're not working out for anyone except this one team because this is where I want to be. Jaden Ivey did the same thing during the draft year. AJ is not going to do that. He is a competitor. He's a gamer. He's very much outside the box and outside the norm in the realm of, I mean, he was the number one player coming out. He went to Utah Prep. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Utah Prep in Mesquite.
I have.
It is in the middle of nowhere. And so he's an outlier. He decided to go to BYU and play for Kevin Young, put BYU on the map, make them, you know, kind of like the Mountain Blue Blood of the West. And so he's an outlier. And I think he's going to be someone, he's like, I'm going to play and I'm going to get better wherever I am. So no, I do not see them holding Washington hostage and being like, no, we don't want to play for you. We really want to be in Utah. I don't see them doing that.
Kristen,
Go ahead, DJ.
You're not going to believe this, but do you know how close PK is to the middle of nowhere right now?
I'm about a mile away from Utah Prep.
The Epson Tour.
Sorry, PK. I'm sorry.
The Epson Tour, the road to the LPGA since 1999, is at Copper Rock, which is, how far is that from the middle of nowhere, PK?
It's probably about 3 or 4 miles from where Utah Prep is.
So our station has a lot of sponsors down there in Red Rock Country watching golf and hanging out, and PK is down there to entertain the sponsors with stories about, well, my guess is the number one pick in the draft is a pretty big topic with the sponsors who are down at that Epson Tour stop right now. That's pretty funny.
I'm sorry. I don't mean middle of nowhere. You have to remember, I live in Utah too. I now live in Vegas.
It's
a nice little town. I've seen photos of the golf course. I know Ace and AJ have played on that golf course.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things,
it is.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it is the middle of nowhere.
It's out of the way, and that's the thing that defines AJ is he did things that are unconventional. He did go to Utah Prep. He did go to BYU. BYU normally doesn't get those types of guys, obviously, and so I wondered if he thought that maybe that it would just be a desire, not necessarily a demand, but a desire, I guess.
Sure, I'm sure he has a preference. He's never going to talk about it. He knows better. And that's fine. But if the Wizards take him number one, he's going to be fine there too. I mean, it's a big market, and he grew up in Brockton, outside of Boston. Like he's going to be fine. But yeah, for Jazz fans, I'm sure you would want me to say, "Oh yeah, he's totally going to tell Washington, I want to be in Salt Lake City and that be." But there is no guarantee that the Wizards don't take Cameron Boozer or Darren Peterson number one too. So maybe it shakes out. They go and they have workouts, and the front office is like, no, DP, you are our guy, or Cameron Boozer, you are our guy, and then miraculously AJ just falls to 2 and everything works out.
Kristen, you've been doing this a while. Anybody who's been doing this a while has heard a lot of crazy stories. And some of them have some truth, and some are wildly entertaining. And sometimes people, it's just CYA time, right? And they got to come up with a story to explain or justify whatever crazy behavior has gone on. So I'm curious, number one, what you think. And number two, more importantly, what you've heard NBA decision makers think about Darren Peterson, and he missed games at Kansas because of cramping, and it was because of creatine. And he has naturally high levels, and then when he used it, it was too much, and his body couldn't handle it. Are people buying that? Is there some science behind that? Are people rolling their eyes privately? What do you think, and how do you think this is going over?
I thought the timing was very telling. A couple days before the combine, when DP was going to have to go through testing, I thought. And using a platform and a writer like Ramona to get something out there and explain why he was cramping. Look, it doesn't matter if they are rolling their eyes or not. The teams in the top 3, they're going to have their own doctors look at everything in the medical and determine what was right, what was exaggerated, and figure out why he was cramping so much. The full body cramps is real. And what happened to DP was real. He dealt with full body cramps. He had a hamstring issue. He was sick for a couple games. I mean, it was just all bad. And I like what I know from him as a high school prospect. And actually, Jonathan Gavoni went on a podcast and he said, "Listen, I've seen DP versus AJ in 4 different environments, and I came out thinking DP was the better prospect. And if you look at that first half of that BYU Kansas game, DP scored 18 points in 20 minutes and didn't play the second half. And he was the best prospect between the two of them on the court. So if you want to look at that and buy into that, and then the two prolific prep versus Utah prep games on the grind session in high school. And then you got the McDonald's All-American game. I mean, if you just want to go solely based off the head-to-head stuff between DP and AJ, DP was the better prospect. But over the course of the year and being a gamer and what AJ did in the Big 12 tournament, I mean, AJ solidified himself, I think, in my eyes, as the best prospect. But yeah, in terms of, the creatine levels, how high they were, I have never taken creatine, but I would assume that any sort of level that he's talking about where your body shuts down, I think it would be more than full body cramps. And I don't know. It's not up to me and the medical staff to decipher what's true and what's smoke.
So Peterson comes out and says, I'm a point guard. Now, point guard today is different than yesteryear. We understand that. The roles have changed. Shooting has become much more prominent. I'm wondering, what was the motivation in saying that? Because Washington has Trae Young. They just got him. And do they want to keep him? I don't know if there's anything involved in that. I'm wondering what you think.
I think it was just like a off the cuff comment because he played so much lead guard when he was healthy at Kansas. And so everyone is saying, oh, he's a shooting guard. And he's more of a combo guard, but coming out and saying, oh, I think of myself as a point guard. I mean, I don't think there's any sort of like secret outlying message with that, kind of like digging or secretly telling Washington, I don't want to come play for you guys because you guys have Trae Young and I'd rather go to, Utah or Memphis. But I think it's just one of those things where it was like off the cusp of, hey, look, don't just look at him as a shooting option. He actually played a lot of point at Kansas.
Do you think the Wizards will worry about positional fit? How much will that factor into their decision? There have been some of those decisions been made in the past, and they didn't work out well for teams that made them. It's most teams want to draft the best player available. What do you think the Wizards are thinking?
I think they are not worried about positional fit at all. If you look at what the San Antonio Spurs did, drafting Dylan Harper, and what OKC has done masterfully and just getting their star and Shea, and then getting a bunch of long wings and shooters and two-way players and, your one center with Chet. I don't think there's one position for every player, especially in this draft. You go based off, if the medical clears, workout, how they feel with when they bring the player in, because there's going to be a lot of sense of, okay, no, this fits, this feels good, instead of, okay, we already have a point guard and Darren Peterson said he's a point guard. So we're going to pass on him. Nobody's doing that in this draft. They're really diving into, the analytics of it, the upside, and, how they project as pros at 24 and 25, being just 19 years old.
I'm wondering if you think this draft has more poker involved. And what I mean by that is teams trying to maneuver, try to get messages out there, that type of thing, because of the fact there isn't a bona fide lock as number one. You can go back, Zion, Anthony Williams, even Cade Cunningham, obviously Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg. We know those guys were going to go number one. And so maybe that might have limited it. Do you find that this draft has an opportunity of teams trying to get stuff out there to make other teams think they want to do this or that?
Absolutely. Not only teams, but agents too, because agents want their players in a certain market as well. And so you're going to see, it is officially smoke season. Like, we're already seeing it happen. And so I always try to decipher. Listen, I've been burned by a few people in front offices. And so I know now when they tell me something, I take it with a grain of salt, because I remember when you told me this 3 years ago, and then you guys ended up taking the player, like, you were telling me that, so I would put it out to other teams, because I talk to everyone, everybody talks to everyone, and they're just trying to get their agenda set. And so absolutely this year, especially this year, because this is the last tanking year and next year kind of flattens out. I don't think next year's draft is as bad as people are portraying it to be. I do think there is quite a bit of talent at the top, not like this year, but yeah, so absolutely we're going to see a lot of smoke. And I'm not going to be afraid to call people on their BS on Twitter like I have recently.
Nice.
There are legendary NBA drafts, 1970, 1984, 2003, multiple Hall of Famers, champions, all that, MVPs, all that kind of stuff. This draft gets talked about like that. But even those drafts had busts mixed in. When you look at the top 4 who seem to have been set aside from the rest of the draft, or maybe you want to go out to the top 8, again, there seems to be kind of a group there at 8 or 9, wherever you want to draw the line. Is there a bust in there in your eyes, or legitimately are people just going to be picking one all-star after another all-star, and you may not get it right, but you can't really get it wrong either?
I don't think there's 8 all-stars in this class. No, not even close. But do I think that there's 8 legitimate rotational, like long-term NBA players in this top 10 in this lottery? Yes. And I mean, I'm never going to call a kid a bust. I'm not here for hot takes. So you asked the wrong person, but I think the player that might need the most time to adjust just because of the physicality and the pace of the game is Keaton Wagler. But you're drafting him based off what he's going to project 2 years from now. You know, after you get him into the system, after you get him, get him to put a little weight on, what he does and his IQ and how he reads the game is why he's going to be drafted 5 to 7.
Yeah, I got a Wooden Award vote, so I made sure that I paid attention to him as he developed, coming, not totally out of nowhere, but didn't have the hype coming in. And I thought that, and I still think, obviously, he's an intriguing prospect to see what he can be in once we get to the turn of the decade. And I think that his upside is really incredible. Same thing can be said about Wilson. Do you think that there's an opportunity that maybe somebody likes him and he even moves up more than where he's projected?
Yeah, look, we all saw the pre-draft video with that Clutch put out of his three-point shooting, because that was the biggest knock on his game. He didn't particularly shoot the 3-ball well in the combine. It was fine, but it wasn't as like masterful as we saw in that workout. And that's fine. That's, the agent put out no misses on purpose. But with Caleb, he is just so raw. And the one thing with him, I was watching the draft show, and they interviewed AJ, they interviewed DP, they interviewed Cam. They never interviewed Caleb. He is going to feel a certain way about that. Caleb keeps receipts. He kept receipts the entire season before he broke his wrist. He made a point to say, I was on the same team with Darren Peterson at McDonald's, and he never passed me the ball. So this is why I want to show people why I'm a better prospect than him. And he did. Like, they totally took it to Kansas. And then when he was playing Notre Dame, through the handshake line, he said to the head coach, hey, thanks for cutting me from the U18 USA basketball team. It motivated me to be the player I am now. So Caleb is going to feel a certain way about not getting interviewed and just people thinking, you are the 4th best player in this draft. And you know what? That is the best thing that NBA fans can hope for, because he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. And that is the best version of Caleb.
Nice.
Danny Ainge famously traded down in Boston and got Tatum, the guy he wanted, let other people trade up, and he got more assets and got the player he wanted. What are the odds the Jazz do that? Is there any chance that they can't get AJ because AJ goes 1 and DP for whatever reason isn't their guy? What are the odds they trade down because they like the players at 3 and 4? Maybe they like Caleb and the chip he's got on his shoulder. That would seem to appeal to Danny Ainge and Austin.
They're not going to trade down. They will just take him.
Yeah.
In this draft, like that was a different draft. That was the Josh Jackson draft, if I'm not mistaken. Like that, everyone has blinders. Nobody has blinders on Danny Ainge and Austin anymore. They know what they're doing, and they know that they have their guy, and they're gonna, they're not. Nobody's trading down in this draft. I'm sorry, but from 2 to 4, that's not. They're just gonna take their guy.
Longtime Jazz fans still have that scar from Derek Harper years ago. You go live in Utah and made it sound like it was just a hellhole. And I know management has worked tirelessly to change that perception away from the draft, going big picture in the NBA. How much do you think that perception has changed, and that young people, particularly young African-American men and the people who are advising them, would be just fine playing for the Utah Jazz?
Just in the sense where what Ryan Smith has been doing, and with the Jazz culture, now you guys have a hockey team, you made the playoffs. In Salt Lake City, I lived in Murray for 4 years. I mean, it is a growing city, and Ryan Smith and Danny, they're building a culture. And Keontae's out here, by the way, and I just saw him at dinner, and he's here all week. But he loves living in Utah. I mean, the misconception of African American players don't want to play in Utah because there's no diversity there. I think we've come away from that. And that's because of what Ryan and Danny they've done a great job. Now it's turned to nobody wants to go to Memphis because LeBron James came out and said Memphis is the worst city in the league. So, or Toronto because of the taxes, or Sacramento because that's where players go to die. Like, there's not that stigma for the Jazz at all.
Cool.
We have a guy on the show who says Oklahoma City is the worst stop in the league, but Oklahoma City's got one trophy, and they're 8-0 halfway to another trophy, so that doesn't seem to be bothering them at all. That might just be one person's opinion, too.
Yeah, winning solves everything.
Right?
So if you are on that OKC team, you're thinking OKC is the greatest city in the world.
There you go. Well, Krysten, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for joining us and dropping all that draft knowledge. This is what Jazz fans are thinking about driving around town. This is what they're pondering in their downtime. This is what they're talking about the first 10 and last 10 minutes of every meeting. So thanks for jumping into the conversation.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good one.
There's Krysten Peak. You can follow Krysten, former Murray resident, at NBA.com and Hoops HQ contributor. DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show next. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Chase Scott and Ben Anderson.
I definitely think the league is just built around two-way players. You got to play both sides. You really have to have an impact. Your entire game plan can't just be disguising multiple bad defenders, and it's what the Jazz ran into with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. It was just Rudy had to cover up so much, it just became too much for him, and the dam broke.
James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, I don't think, can play together. And I love this direction of where the NBA is going, by the way. How many one-way offensive players can you play at one time? At one point, it was how many non-shooters can you play at one time? And now combine that with how many one-way guys can you play at one time? One?
Yeah.
Maybe two? I think that will be where the Lakers run into trouble even when their players are back, or if Austin Reeves stays. I don't think you can have more than one non-defensive player. You know what? It might be the Nuggets' problem.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK were brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. They're bringing you the Slacker Radio headlines. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We got multiple stories today. The Dodgers can't hit. They can't win. Sure, Shohei finally hit a homer, but the pitching load on him is dragging him down, and the Dodgers are struggling. They are getting Mookie back. So there's that, PK, and the ACC coaches and ADs joined the Big Ten and the Big 12 in favor of a 24-team playoff, and the NFL schedule keeps trickling out. Now we have all the foreign games, including 3 games in a row in London. And the Spurs blitz the Wolves, and all of that pales in comparison to AJ Dybantsa. What would the Jazz do to trade? What would you do if you were running the Jazz? Well, how much would you give up to trade for him?
I'd give up Locke. That'd be one.
Funny. David Locke to D.C.
I would not give up Ron Boone, though. I saw Ron Boone yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
And this is a man who is either close to or already has turned 80.
Uh-huh.
If I look half as good as he does at that age, if I'm alive, I would be happy. The guy hasn't aged in 15, 20 years.
I know. And not just looking good, but physically, walking around, still plays golf, right? There's no guarantee when you get to 80, you get to move around like Ron does. Mentally, sharp, still there. Go have a conversation with the guy. It's like you said, it's like talking to a 60-year-old. It's fine. You start talking to him about the team and the games and the stuff. And it's there's a trick to making it to 80, but then to get to 80 and have the quality of life he's having, that is incredible.
Yes, and it was at the golf course, and I was finishing my 9 holes that I play in my men's league that we do, and he was with a friend, and he was with a pull cart, and he was going to walk the 9 holes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Get those steps in. I like it.
Right.
Use it
so
or lose
we'll
it.
keep Ron, but if they want Locke, we'll have to let him go.
We'll get to some of your comments coming up. There's a ton of them. We are overwhelmed by them. This is the story. But largely the takeaway here is don't overpay to move. Now, people will draw the line on what they'll pay. There are people who will give up a future draft pick. There are people who will give up the Cleveland pick in 28, the Phoenix pick in 31. But largely, they're like, well, if they want a role player and a pick swap and a pick, okay. But, boy, when it gets to the 4 guys you were talking about yesterday, people don't want to move them. They do not want to move Jackson. Largely, they don't want to move Markkanen or Keontae or Ace. There's a few outliers, but, man, basically it's like, listen, the Wizards are going to go fishing, but you gotta show a little resolve here and just not give them everything just because you want AJ. And people do want AJ.
Funny thing, and I love AJ as much as the next guy. I had an opportunity to interview him several times and watch him in person several times, and I think he's all that and fun player. It's sort of I don't know if ironic is the word. If I'm trading Keontae, then I want Darren Peterson.
Well, on a need basis, I get why you would say that. Say that. The ability to score it and score it easy. AJ's got a lot of things going for him. A lot of things. But is he going to score it as easily as those two do? It's a pretty big ask in the NBA.
I think he can. I think particularly the mid-range there is virtually unstoppable.
Yep.
Now, it was at the collegiate level and the other levels that he's played at. We'll have to see. Everything changes to a large degree once you get to the highest level, which is the NBA, obviously. So we'll have to see that. Until you've done it in the NBA, there is a little bit. Some have more question marks than others, but I still think there is a question mark no matter who you are, with very few exceptions. And I don't see anybody in this class that passes that exception. I'm going to have smaller doubts for some of them, certainly, but I think he can. But Peterson, so smooth and so good that if you would have told me in October, hey, the Jazz can get Darren Peterson, I would have been over the moon. Yeah, this is great for these guys, man. I want to talk about a winning team. We all do. Fans want to follow a winning team. And I want playoff runs. I talked to Austin Ainge about that. I said, come on, man. You're stretching me thin here, guy. You got to get to the playoffs. And he laughed and said, yeah, I'll do what I can for you. And so away you go. My only concern with Darren Peterson is his middle name is Nathan.
DNP. Terrible initials for a basketball player.
I do not know if his middle name is Nathan. I just made that up.
Well, it was fun, wasn't
it? Yes. Other than that, and I think that issue can be resolved very quick, because now he's playing for much higher money, much higher stakes, and also for the second contract and the third contract, and you have to produce. The reality is he didn't have to produce that much at Kansas to go 1 or 2. That's a fact.
I'd like to argue, but it is a fact.
Yeah. But everything changes. The situation and the parameters totally change now. And, it was college basketball has its place, but its place is much smaller than the NBA. There are going to be all sorts of lights and people and eyes on him next season. So I'm not as concerned, particularly if Jazz management isn't as concerned about it. Well, they're going to alleviate my concern.
Hey, we better give a shout out to Jeff J. at BYU, because 3 months ago he had up Twitter and said, wouldn't it be great if Darren Peterson's middle name started with N? He
did?
Yeah, he did. Even threw out, what if it was Nathan or something? That went up on Cougar Board in February. Yeah, you're not the first person to go DNP.
Okay. I did not
playing
see
around
that,
with
but I don't know that many of my comments are 100% original. So,
that's a basketball joke that would appeal to a lot of people. So it's not surprising if multiple. I don't even know if Jeff J or whoever it was the first person to throw it out there. Maybe there was somebody else. But I just did a quick search for his middle name to see what it was, and no information. So it's that old thing though, where there's no information or no story, people will create one. So there you go.
But I think it can be alleviated. Can it be solved? Well, we'll have to see this time next year when we look at the Basketball Reference and it has his rookie season and look under GP and see how many games were played. And that's not Gary Payton. It's games played. That's literally the only way to alleviate it. Everything else is sort of talk.
There's another story that is just kind of breaking this morning. The ACC is having media availability, I think. And Brett McMurphy, who we've had on the show, he's one of a handful of the preeminent college football national writers. Sure. Yeah. He throws this out there on Twitter. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said ESPN does not want the playoff to expand past 16 teams, period. Quote, ESPN's made it clear they want to stay at 12 or 14, but no more than 16, close quote, Phillips said. Brett McMurphy put that on Twitter, and if you think that's getting a lot of reaction, you are correct. It is. It has just barely gone up. It's a pretty fresh quote there. So that's 30. It's only been up 31 minutes. And this goes back to what we had when we had Tim Brando on, who said ESPN wants to keep Fox out. And there are comments on this, and John Wilner, a.k.a. The Hammer, has weighed in with this is ESPN versus Fox. The schools are just kind of basically window dressing here. They're pawns in this game. This is ESPN and Fox. Fox wants to televise playoff games. If there's 24 teams, they have to have 23 playoff games, and that is just too many games for any one network. ESPN's already sublicensed 2 games to TNT. They would have to do more. Some of these games would probably have to go head-to-head or overlap, with a game kicking off at halftime of a game on another channel. So, hey, it's big business. There's a gazillion dollars at stake. This isn't surprising. Live sports is the last appointment viewing. Of all the things that have just hammered the TV industry, it's at us as viewers, including people who work in the TV industry. We want to view on our schedule. We don't want to have appointment viewing. We don't want to have to say, hey, I got to be here at 7 or 9. And the last thing we will do it for is not prime time. It's not a newscast. It's live sports. That's the last thing we'll set our schedule around is, hey, the game kicks off at 1, the game kicks off at 6, whatever it is. So that's the wrestling match here. Now, there are people saying, hey, the SEC is going to have teams 13, 14, 15, and they don't want to have to play a game and be exposed that those teams really aren't 13, 14, 15 anymore. Is that part of it? Maybe it is, actually, and I think there's some that's worth discussing, and there's some truth in that, but money talks. And the amount of money that we're talking about here in a 2014 playoff, it stamps its feet, it screams, and it pounds the table. So this other stuff is interesting, and there's a good reason to discuss it. But, man, there is a lot of money at stake right here. And the conference playoff games will get caught up in these conference title games will get caught up and wiped out by the round of 24. I think that's pretty clear that has to be the trade-off.
Sure. And there's a lot of things to say, and that's why we need, not just want, whether you don't like it or like it, that's why we need NIL, because all this money that is at stake, it's because these young kids out on the field, and they deserve a fair share, and maybe they're getting more than a fair share, but good for them. Did you hear what Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, went to the Cardinals, said?
I did not.
He's going to get $53
Oh, I did.
million.
Yes, I did. Yes, this was actually bravo.
Yeah, he said, I'm not going to touch that money. I'm of the NIL era. I'm well off already.
Yep.
And hey, why not? Why shouldn't he or she be able to cash in? It seems archaic that Jimmer Fredette wasn't able to cash in.
Totally agree.
When Dave Rose is getting multiple offers.
Yep.
Because of Jimmer Fredette to go to other places. And that's nothing against Dave. He deserved it. But so did Jimmer Fredette. And that's a classic high-level example. And so with that in mind, that it needs to be spread around because there is so much money at stake. And you got all these high rollers that are in their 60s deciding what is going to be the impact on 18 to 22 or 23-year-olds. Seems a little silly that they would walk away, not totally empty-handed, but everything had to be under the table and all that stuff. Now we're beyond that, and it's above the table. I've literally seen players get checks from business people right standing in front of me as the three of us are talking, and I've got no problem with that. Sure, maybe some regulations and so forth could help. I understand that. Also, I would much rather that decisions be made for what is in the best interest of the sport and the fans rather than what's in the best interest of some TV network.
Yes, and I think that the ACC, I don't believe the ACC commissioner just learned this. Jim Phillips has known this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got to be careful in what he says because the ACC has a massive business relationship with ESPN. ESPN owns the ACC network. ESPN televises ACC games, and ESPN writes ACC schools big checks. Not as big as SEC schools, but still big checks to play in those games. There is no way that he just casually decided to go out and bite the hand that feeds him. There's no way. I don't believe it for a second. It doesn't pass the sniff test. He thought about it. He wants this to happen, and he's figured the only way we're getting to 24, which is best for his league, the only way we're doing it, ESPN's not going to give in unless I call them out and the world comes crashing down on them. And saying just what you said, PK, got to do what's best for the sport. Can't do what's best for one business. Can't do it. And he knows the amount of angst / jealousy / disgust that people have with ESPN. Partly because they're so big, partly because they don't like some of the shows or the politics of the shows, partly because they're changing game kickoff times for games everywhere. All these things add up over time. They all do. And Jim Phillips, I think he knows exactly why he said what he said, and it was a conscious decision to say it now, not 2 months ago when he probably knew it 2 months ago. He probably knew it 6 months ago, but he finally decided now's the time. That's dropping a pretty big quote into the discussion right there. He lit the match, and he knows the fire is going to burn. And there's a price to pay for saying it. There's a price to pay for saying it, and he knew what the price was. I totally believe that.
Well, I think it's a trade-off. If I don't say it, is there a bigger price to pay? And if I say it,
yes. Yes.
So with that in mind, you talk the hand that bites, so the hand that bites to feed you, don't bite it, or whatever that thing is. I've got some expressions. And one of them is, you don't bleep where you eat. Yep. And more importantly, you don't bleep where I eat.
Right. And the Big 12 commissioner, Brett Yormark, is just sitting there. Go get him, Jim. And then he looks at ESPN. I didn't say it. But I'm sure glad Jim did. Go get him, Jim.
All understood.
I'm right behind you.
There needs to be some form of solidarity that's in the best interest. And the SEC has talked about that. We're concerned about the college football as a sport as a whole. Oh, okay. Well, you have an opportunity to show me. Don't tell me, show me is the old phrase.
All right, DJ PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, Friday from 10 to noon at Tim Dolly Mazda at 10785 South Automobile Drive in Sandy. PGA Championship coming up. Bob Casper, Brian Taylor on every show all day, all week long with the PGA Championship getting underway here tomorrow. Yock, do you want to give away a qualifier right now? Yeah, let's do it. Copper Rock PGA Championship, caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We'll be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship this week. We're assigning listeners one of the top 25 players in the world. One listener will be assigned the field. The winner will receive a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. Time for your feedback. What would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? David, a future first. So he'll give up a draft pick, PK. And you know what? That's not what Justin would do. Justin doesn't want to give it up. He says maybe a Cleveland pick swap. That's it. So he won't give it up, but he'll swap and let him move up. And here's
that'd be two swaps then.
Yeah, right?
You're going to swap this year's.
Jay Money, how about this? No one. Perfect scenario for the Jazz. People need to remove the emotional connection between AJ and BYU. Jason, no one. Jazz need to stay at number 2 and take over drops them out of AJ or Peterson. Very simple in my opinion. Nothing. Boozer and Peterson impact winning more. So GVUDM is sitting there just hoping, I hope they take AJ because these other guys are going to have a bigger impact on winning.
Yeah, how do you know you're going because that BYU lost in the first round? Is that what he's saying?
I don't.
Against BYU.
That's
meanwhile.
I did wonder.
The top 5 players last year didn't even make the NCAA tournament. They are out of Rutgers.
I did wonder if he was a Ute or an Aggie, and I clicked on his profile, and it was not immediately obvious. He is a Denver Bronco fan. Oh, I think he is a Ute fan.
Ute fan.
No, he's a Ute fan. I just came down. I found some Ute stuff later.
Of course he was. I mean, come on. Fan. I don't need evidence to know what's right in front of my face, what I can see and what I can hear, what I can taste, what I can smell. Did I cover it all?
Allen, nothing. DP's the better prospect and fit. If the Wizards get wise to this, they'll pick DP. And then AJ falls to us, so don't trade for him. And that would also be great, by the way. That's Allen right there. So he's on board with both guys.
Well, I think they'll know that, particularly because they've got a relationship with Ace Dybantsa. And so Ace can just tell them Washington's going to take us. They have an insight to what's going on in a manner that no team has ever had. That might be too strong, but you get the point.
No, but I do think to your point, could you just see all the Jazz brass sitting around in a room, right? And you got Ryan there who owns the club. You've got both the Ainges, Austin and Danny. You got Jay-Z, and they're all sitting there. All right, who do we know that talks to Washington Wizards management?
Yeah, duh.
Check. Box checked. Someone call Ace and find out what they're saying.
And then they've got Kevin Young, who's back there in Chicago right now. And so he obviously has an intense relationship with both the Dybantsas, father and son.
Yeah.
We just had Krysten Peak tell us that Ace is going to act essentially along with an advisor as the management team. He's heading it up, which he's been doing for years. So they'll know who is on Washington's list, because if they tell them, they're going to have to tell them at some point. I don't think they're going to wait. And AJ's sitting there in New York. Gosh, I wonder who it's going to be. They'll know. And so that information gets back to the Jazz and they can adjust accordingly. And if it is Darren Peterson, well, then they don't make a trade. If that's who if they want Ace or AJ as opposed to Darren.
Stop talking about this, JJ Johnny Utah says. Utah radio needs to relax. Trading for the first pick would be stupid. DP is just as good as AJ, if not better. Utah radio needs to relax. PK, when I was in college radio, there was somebody who made a technical mistake putting something on the air. And then they justified it with some people like quiet. And I just looked at him like, yeah, those people don't turn the radio on. Utah radio isn't here to relax. This is exciting. We're going to talk about it. We're not even sure what the right decision is. We're trying to weigh it. We know we have incomplete information. But people are dying to talk about this. Earlier in the show, I was talking about us walking down the street and some guy walking out in his driveway waiting for his wife to come along before they went on a walk. And he turns and he looks at me, does a real quick double take, goes, who would you draft? Didn't say, hey, DJ, didn't say anything. He got right to the important issue. Who would you draft?
So when you were walking down the street, were you singing doo-wah, diddy-diddy-dum, diddy-dum?
I could have been, but at that moment I was not. If I had thought of it, I probably would. Doo-wah, diddy-diddy-dum, diddy-dum. Yeah.
Well, you were walking down the street. You had half the equation.
I was, but I was too blown away by all the dogs I was passing. The number of people out walking dogs last night, and it was great, right? It was did it get to 90 yesterday? It was pretty warm. It was a really warm day. So as the sun's dropping, it's still 75, 80 degrees. It's like 8:30. The sun's going down. You get great sunsets here. And everybody was just like, get Rover, get the leash, let's go. I have to say, all the dogs are on a leash, too. Every once in a while, you get the renegade running around and going nuts. But
our job is to talk about what people want to hear about.
Yeah. This is what's on the tip of everybody's tongue right now.
And we got two locals. We got the Jazz, who I believe always are and always will be the number one story. There'll be exceptions for a time, but we're talking big picture. Mm-hmm. And we've got AJ Dybantsa, who's at least marginally, if not more than that, a local factor. And so, come on, it's overwhelming. If I would have done, and actually I did a ton of sports radio. I just didn't have my own show when the Utes were doing their great things in basketball. I mean, I'd come back to the hotel after whatever, there'd be 5 messages from around the country. And I made sure I said yes to every freaking single one because this is what I really wanted to do.
I feel bad now. And we got listeners, we got listeners who are 25, 30, 35 years old. Let's see, at 35, what would you be? It would have been like 7, right? Now, the listeners are 50, 60, remember it. But, PK, those months in 1998, I mean, the Jazz have been to the NBA Finals in 97. But you get to the first of the year and football ends, and the Utes are looking really good. And the Jazz are looking really good. Stockton had some surgery early that year. And it builds up to the NCAA title game, but a loss, and then the NBA Finals, but a loss. But the emotion... And people were so fired up for that. This draft, and I think people who are, 50-ish right now are thinking this could trigger something like that. I don't think this will ever land the way that landed. There was Jordan then. It was the first time then. The town was smaller, and with media, it was more connected. It's just different now. I don't know that they could get as strong a hold. Maybe they could. Maybe when we get there, we'll say, wow, this is just like... It was so much fun to cover those stories. And it didn't end the way people wanted because both the Jazz and Utes lost, and maybe some BYU fans were happy about the Utes losing, but I don't even remember it that way. I remember talking to BYU fans who were like, oh, somebody from the state pulls it off. It was awesome. Those were good times, and maybe this is about to trigger that.
Yep.
All right, we're all done. The coach is coming up. Tim Lacombe, Scotty G on the way. Stay with us.